think we might get started, everyone. Thank you, Councillor White and Councillor Koch. Thank you very much. I think we'll get started. Firstly, I'd like to welcome everyone here. We've got a packed house. I'd like to acknowledge the land that we meet on tonight is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. So roll call, we have an apology from Councillor Lorna, and if that can be, thank you, Chris. That's the only apology and everybody else seems to be here. Are there any motions to grant leave of absence, councillors? Be none. There's no leave of absence, no non-attendance. Public open forum. I have one person that wishes to speak in public open forum, and that is Diane Fraser. Diane, if you'd like to come forward, please. And Diane's talking on the budget. Thank you. You'd just like to turn it on. Thank you, Diane. Yep, just press the button. There you go.
Thank you. Mayor, elected members, CEO and staff, I'd like to speak about the budget. Elected members' new initiatives in the budget bids are great if they're outside the square. I really appreciate people thinking outside the square. But ratepayers, but you have to be very much aware that it's the ratepayers' money that you're spending. Be mindful of the long-term community plan, i.e. Cup Eaton and the swimming pool. The pool needs to be replaced. It can't keep propping it up as we're doing. And you also need to realise the economic situation at the moment with mortgages, power, rates, food. It's very hard out there for people. People are struggling. There would be a lot of young people with families that are not sure whether they can afford their homes even anymore. Now is not the time to be adding extra non-core business events to the budget. Carols, in conjunction with the Rotary Club, was suspended during COVID. During that time, Council initiated Santa's workshop, which has proved to be a great success. Now we are doing both. So, plus an extra 5,000 for the carols. Whilst I'm not suggesting that we cease either of these events, I will urge you to please don't add any more. Maybe the Gawler Business Development Group could initiate a best feature window display that would draw people to the main street. A parade is very expensive, closes the street for several hours for just a half-hour parade. And it's probably only in the north part of the street anyway. It's probably only from Walker Place to Pioneer Park. So the southern end don't get anything. So I'm asking you all to please be very aware of what you're voting for and think about the ratepayers in this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in public open forum? No, thank you. We'll now move on to deputation. So first, cab off the rank is Karen McCall. She's representing the user groups at Elliott Goodger Memorial Park, and she's talking on the master plan. Just turn it on again, Karen. That's it. Don't touch it again.
I'd like to acknowledge Mayor Redmond, elected members, Tony Piccolo, the member for Light, and staff. This deputation is in relation to a master plan for Elliott Goodger Memorial Park for the 2023-2024 council budget. As the Mayor said, my name's Karen McCall. I'm from the Williston Football Club. I'm the Wellbeing Coordinator, and I'm also a member of the Gawler Dog Training Club. I speak on behalf and represent the following organisations, and I'd like to thank them for their input into this deputation. Williston Football, Netball and Cricket Clubs, Williston Country Music, Williston Bingo, Rotary Gawler Light, Gawler Dog Training Club, 608 Squadron Air Force Cadets, Gawler BMX Club, Rotary Club of Gawler and the Gawler Scout Group. So in terms of the community that these clubs support, a conservative figure of 5,800 people, which includes participants and their families, members and spectators, regularly use this park, and this number increases when special events are run. The organisations that are represented tonight demonstrates great diversity meeting different community needs, from being active, for example, with football, netball, cricket, bike riding and dog training, being connected, Scouts, Air Force Cadets, country music, bingo, and all those who volunteer at these various organisations. Being supported, supporting other community groups with storing and providing equipment, which enables broader community participation to occur with events like Relay for Life, Christmas carols, etc. And at times supporting individuals who are facing challenging times in their lives. The benefits to community wellbeing must be highly prioritised when thinking about the value this precinct offers to the community. Physical and mental health, the evidence shows that being active and connected reduces the risk of depression and suicide. Community connection, for example, links to RAF, RSL, Legacy, other scout groups and other clubs. Community capacity building, the ability to learn new skills, and community open space open to the broader community. We as a collective see great potential and opportunity in what could be possible within Elliott Goodger Memorial Park, expanding into possible new things like indoor rock climbing, a community garden space, incorporating junior sports on the same day as senior sports, making the site safer in terms of entrance, exit and traffic flow, and better shared use car parking, toilet facilities and disability access. A master plan of the park is seen by all the organisations as an important first step in being able to capitalise on already existing investment, but more importantly, plan for the future and be prepared for when grant opportunities arise. We've seen others around us reap the rewards of being shovel ready when grant opportunities arise and the economic benefit that this brings to their local business, to local businesses and organisations. We have great potential to work together to attract events such as regional camps, state or national BMX competitions, state and national dog trials and competitions, and not to mention an AFL gather round and SACA events, South Australian Cricket Association events, all of which would bring people to participate, spectate and stay, providing greater economic benefit to our town. For all the reasons I've outlined on behalf of all the organisations, we would like to see the council commit in the 2023-2024 budget a master plan for Elliott Goodger Memorial Park. And we look forward to you taking up the invitation that has been extended to see the park in action this Saturday, the 29th of April at 5:30 p.m. And I'm happy to take any final RSVPs. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Karen. We'll move on to Christine Maudsley. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm Chris and I live in Edith Street, so I'm here to talk about the ongoing traffic issues. This information might be of interest to the new council members who are not privy to the previous traffic surveys and reports pertaining to Edith, Short and Blanche Streets. It also might be of interest to the residents of other areas who are keenly waiting on their concerns to be heard via public consultation. If you want to be honest, should you request traffic data during public holiday periods or school holiday periods and present that as accurate numbers of traffic? No. Should you strategically place traffic counters at the entrance of a church, knowing that at that point traffic will be forced to slow for entering or exiting cars and present that as accurate indication of speed? No. Council spent over $60,000 on traffic reports, which highlighted: one, that our classified local residential streets are being used incorrectly as minor collector roads; two, that there is a need for reduction in speed and volume; and three, that drivers should not be using Edith Street to travel between Lyndoch Road and Murray Road, and the only effective way to create a wholesale redirection of traffic would be prevent access. Should you then choose to disregard these points? No. Should you arrange a public consultation and have the writer of the report suggest that, contrary to what they wrote in the report, traffic volumes are typically expected and accepted on our streets? No. Should you present to the public that users on our streets are local while ignoring the traffic report, which states 75% of the traffic on Edith Street is not local to the study area? No. If you want to be fair, leading up to public consultation, should you tell residents verbally and in writing which options will not be considered by council? No. Leading up to public consultation, should you do a letterbox drop and focus on the recommended options that council has handpicked from the traffic report? No. Should your staff laugh at residents when they voice their concerns? No. If you want to be transparent, should you advise the authors of the traffic report not to speak to residents? No. Should you be willing to discuss the decision-making process for road closures or part road closures approved by council previously in other streets and explain why Edith, Short and Blanche streets are any different? Yes. If you want to be accountable, should you continue to encourage heavy vehicles and high traffic volumes down classified local residential streets for the purpose of alleviating traffic in the main street and corridor roads, regardless of the risk to residents in terms of safety, peace and quiet? No. Should you largely ignore the continuing safety issues raised by residents of speeding drivers, vehicles driving on the wrong side of the road, drivers failing to stop at stop signs, volume and traffic? No. Perhaps this will be covered during our next meeting with council on the 3rd of May. After spending over $60,000 on traffic reports and completing public consultation, should you then put forward recommendations to councillors for options that will cost large amounts of money, yet were not issues raised by the residents? No. Should you turn a blind eye and unofficially encourage local residential streets to become connector roads without council having to comply with your own transport and traffic management plan and Australian road rules criteria? No. And by the way, these points were raised in the traffic reports, but appear to have been ignored. Have you yet to take action on the March 2022 traffic report recommendation to lower the speed limit along Edith Street? No. Yet you moved the bicycle network to improve safety for bicycle riders, which I assume is why they did that. I mentioned there's going to be another meeting with council on the 3rd of May. We'll just have to wait and see what becomes of that, given that the letter we received has again focused on council's preferred options, some of which were suggested by council prior to spending over $60,000 investigating the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Adam, if you'd like to come forward, thank you. Adam Roberts.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. I am still Adam Roberts and I'm here to speak on behalf of the community in regards to the community consultation for the rezoning of 550 to 554 Main North Road, Evanston Park. Firstly, I'd like to start by thanking the councillors that continually make themselves available at the community meetings organised by Tony Piccolo MP. Your candid responses and chats are greatly appreciated amongst the community. I'd actually like to ask by a show of hands, which councillors have taken the time to visit either Sheriff Street, Coleman Parade?
I'm not going to allow that, Adam, sorry.
Disappointing. As a community, we wish to express our disappointment with a lack of progress with the community consultation in regards to the rezone. The letter from the Mayor dated mid-March stated that the council is keen to understand the community's interest and concerns with the code amendment, with a draft submission expected to be available at the end of April for community consultation. This deadline is about to pass. With the way this whole rezone has played out, I find it extremely hard to believe that some members of council are actually keen for any community engagement, and to be honest, are hoping that this whole issue just goes away. I do not believe that council need to wait any longer to engage with the community on this matter. There is enough information within the future urban reports for council to at least start the engagement process now to get a feel for the community's sentiment towards this rezone. I would now like to pose the following questions to the Mayor, which I believe should be able to be answered in this forum and not taken on notice. I would also request that the Mayor's responses be formally documented in the minutes of this meeting. 1. What is the reason for the delay of council's draft submission? 2. Will this delay limit the community consultation timeframe of 3 weeks as stipulated in the Mayor's letter? 3. Has Future Urban stipulated a date when the council submission is required by? Finally,
Is that it? How many more?
that's it.
How many more questions have you got?
That's all the questions, Mayor. I've got 4 more lines and then I'm done for tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Finally, as a community, we would like there to be an open forum as part of the engagement process. We believe that the park at the end of Ames Drive along Common Parade would be an ideal location. Thank you once again for your time.
Andrew Goodsell. Can you answer those questions, please?
Thank you. I didn't get the third question. I can answer the first two and maybe I can get the third question repeated. So
Just one moment, Adam.
Yep.
Let him answer the first
I'll answer
two.
the first two questions if you like.
yeah.
So in regards to the desire to put our draft submission and the draft LMA to the community, firstly it needs to go to council. There's been some delays getting information from Future Urban in terms of the summary of submissions, which we've now largely got. We've only got the peer review reports finished in the last 2 weeks. The report to council is going to the 16th of May at this point in time. Through a special meeting, I believe that's been confirmed. Or it's
Hasn't
about to
been confirmed.
Hasn't
yet,
been confirmed.
But it will be.
But it will be. So that will be where the submission is tabled along with my report.
So that's a Tuesday night, the 16th of May. If you'd all like to take note of that, please. Yep.
And
Keep
there will
going,
be a draft LMA to go with that.
Yeah.
In regards to the second question, which was about the 3 weeks impacted, whether the consultation process is impacted by our timelines, the answer is no. The intention was that we go to the 16th of May, we would have exhibition for 3 weeks shortly thereafter. And then we would have a public forum at the end of that 3-week period. I think that was also on a Tuesday, with ultimately the report to council going to the end of June 2023.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, none of that impacts the 3-week consultation process.
No.
And
No,
we've
it
also got
doesn't.
an engagement plan that's attached to that report. The third question, which I've just been handed, I think it reflects what you've said, but just correct me if I've got it wrong. Has Future Urban advised council the deadline for council submission? Okay. The answer to that is there is no per se deadline. The way the engagement process worked with the community and the way the minister advertised it through the portal was that there was a public timeline for submissions. The nature of LMA agreements and the like is that these are ongoing. They do take a period of time that goes beyond that period.
Yeah.
And that was acknowledged by Future
So there's
Urban.
no set
No.
date. There's no set date, Adam.
Reasonable endeavours.
Okay. Does that clarify some of those questions? Thank you. Thank you, Adam. So next is Justin Simmons. Thank you, Justin.
Works. So good evening again, your worship and councillors. You won't need to stop watch for me tonight. When I originally requested this deputation on this topic, it was based on a timeline for community consultation that was outlined at the special meeting in March, and I understand that there are delays, as has been previously outlined. So your time is valuable. I won't keep you for long. Adam and I have had the great opportunity to represent the views of our community here in the chamber. It's been a privilege to speak on behalf and express our shared concern, not just of us, but to represent people that are back here. Undoubtedly, you would have a strong sense of the sentiments of local residents through their attendance to these meetings and the applause in support of the cause. We trust that as we move into the period of consultation, that you engage with us in collaborative, two-way communication. Come the final meeting on this matter, we want to be speaking in support of your submission, not against it. We want to know that you have heard and have acted on our concerns. So it's not too early to start the process. It's not too early to start engaging. It's not too early to start speaking with people from our community. I know for me personally, I'm open to speaking directly with any members of council or the staff team. I'm on school holidays at the moment. It's the best thing around, and I'm free and available. I won't be as much next week. And I'm sure that there are others here that would be really happy to speak to you directly as well. Last of all, at the special meeting in March, it was mentioned that the council has an independent tree report amongst other reports that were undergoing a peer review process. As you have seen from our previous deputations, our group are well researched, they're well educated, they're well informed people that are able to think critically. Where it's not a breach of commercial and confidentiality, and knowing that the transparency of the process is key, we would love to be able to see these as a community. If that can occur prior to the next meeting of council or even before that special meeting, we'd love to be working through them. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Any questions for any of the speakers? Thank you, everyone. There we go. Are there any declarations of interest, councillors? No, he's not speaking. He is withdrawn. He's, with all due respect, councillor Sample, the member for Light has withdrawn, but he's here to support members of the community. Thank you, Tony. Declarations. Thank you everyone for coming. That concludes deputations. I'll now ask for declarations of interest. If you could name the item number. So councillor Kosh.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I've got two. It's
Yes.
10.1, the Norma budget, and 10.5, new street name. And I'll explain when I get there.
Kosh. Now, I'll go around the room. So you've taken note of that, CEO? And councillor White?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, 10.1, the Norma budget as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor White, thank you very much. Now next, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, 10.7.
10.7, Deputy Mayor. Now you want to make a personal statement at that point?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yes, please, Mayor.
Yes, and we'll ask for the council to give you that leave. I'm sure that will be provided.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Solomon.
I just like to make a declaration at a general declaration at 10.1,
Yes.
and I also had 13.1 because there's some minutes in there, but I'm not
Now
which also
where's,
pertain to
hang on a minute. Just need to turn over the page.
that's membership.
13 minutes of external bodies.
Yeah, there's
If you
technically
can highlight that
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Or we'll just put 13.1 at the moment.
Yeah.
And 10.1, did you say?
yes, so 10.1 is the Norma of the draft budget, and 13.1 is minutes of a normal meeting.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Councillor Valalonga? If you can put your microphone on, thanks, Jim. Awesome. There you go. Thank you.
I'm not sure if I've got to declare an interest on a notice on a motion on notice.
Which one are you talking about, Jim? 16.2? No? Which one are you talking about?
16.2.
16.2? Okay, we'll deal with that when we come to it. How about that? All right? Yep. Thank you. Right, now. So first, right now. We've dealt with declarations of interest. There are no adjourned items. There are no petitions. I'll go through the confirmation of minutes one at a time. Ordinary council meeting 28th of March 2023. You've got your hand up, Councillor Hughes. Are you happy to move that motion? Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Davies, thank you very much. I'll just allow, thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, I'm going to put those minutes, all those in favour of those minutes carried, if we could do that again, all those in favour carried unanimously. Now, the second special council meeting, I have been alerted to the fact that Councillor Hughes was not in attendance. And I think, Chris, you've adjusted that, have you? Or so, councillor Hughes, do you want to explain how you picked that up?
Yeah, I'm listed as being in attendance as well as an apology. So, yeah, I just think they just need to be amended, but as I wasn't there, I can't move this motion.
No. Thank you for explaining that. I think that if there's no other issues with the special council meeting minutes, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. Thank you, councillor White. Moved councillor White, seconded councillor Vallelonga. If there's no further discussion, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. That deals with the confirmation of minutes. Thank you. Business arising? There be none. Now we move on to our decision reports, and I'd like to welcome Mr. Toby Gillette, who, oh, sorry. Yeah, before you start presenting, Toby, and we also have Mr. Sid Jane from the Northern Adelaide Waste Management Authority who will speak to their draft budget. But before we do that, we have 3 people that wish to declare conflicts, and I'll start with you, councillor Kosh.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to declare a general conflict as a member of the board, the normal board, and I'm dealing with it by staying in the meeting and making a decision, the best interests of my community. Thank you. Can I
Thank
fill
you.
out the form?
Yes, thank you. Now we'll move to councillor White. There you go.
Thanks, Mayor Redmond. Yes, similarly, I'm declaring a general conflict of interest because I'm a deputy member of the normal board and I'll stay in the meeting and vote in the best interests of the Gawler community.
I think we need to actually include that in the minutes. Transparent in the best interest of Gawler community, remained in the meeting and participated in the debate. Remained in the meeting and participated in the debate. So if we can just, if that is, councillor White, are you happy with that wording? And we can put that, the same wording, just if you can advise that you're happy with that wording, and then Chris can put the same wording with you. Is that okay? Yeah, yeah. So he's, you haven't, because he is a member of the Norma board, and in brackets, a council representative. Thank you, Chris. So councillor White, you've declared a general conflict. You're staying in the room and you're making, if I heard you right, you'll deal with your interest in a transparent and accountable way in the best interest of the Gawler community, remain in the meeting and participate in the debate. So councillor White is a deputy member. Just want to get this right. Deputy member of the normal board. Thank you very much. You happy with that? Remained in the meeting and participated in the debate. I think that's quite important. Now we'll go to councillor Solomon. Are you happy with that wording? Sorry? What? Sorry, I can't hear you. Oh, that's okay. Chris has removed that slight error. Thank you, councillor Davies. Now I'm going to go to councillor Solomon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, I'd also like to declare a general conflict for this item. I'll manage the conflict in a transparent and accountable way by remaining in the chamber and voting in the best interest of the Gawler community. And I'm happy with the same wording that councillor Kosh has up there.
Chris will just update that. Participate in the debate. Thank you, Chris. Because he is a board member, he is a member of the normal board. Council representative. Thank you, Chris. I think, are you happy with that wording, councillor Solomon? Thank you. Okay, right. So we've dealt with that. Anybody else to this matter? No? Excellent. So now, Mr. Toilette and Mr. Jane, if you'd like to come forward to the microphone. I don't know who's going to speak. Who's speaking? Toby? Excellent.
Thank you, Mayor Redmond. Yes, I'll start. I've got a couple of slides just on Norma, a little bit of background for the new councillors and people that don't know a lot about Norma. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be back in here today. We'll make this as quick as possible. I understand you've got a fair bit on the agenda tonight. So Norma operates best practice waste management and resource recovery on behalf of the 3 constituent councils, being the City of Playford, City of Salisbury and Town of Gawler. It's a very dynamic commercial business, saving the constituent councils many millions of dollars in recycling valuable resources and also looking at innovative ways to deal with household waste. We manage the collection of the 3-bin system from about 120,000 households. Of that, it's about 64,000 tonne of red lid waste, so your general waste that goes up to the Uluru landfill. We also manage about 45,000 tonne of recyclables that go through our MRF. At Woomera Road, we also recover about 38,000 tonne of organics. And that goes off to Pete's for reprocessing and back out into the market. We also receive a number of commercial volumes that brings the total up to over 90,000 tonne, which is a fantastic operation covering about 100 staff. So. I'll be able to have the next slide, please. In terms of the major projects that we're looking at over the next financial year, it's worth mentioning probably 3 of the top high priority projects. Sid will go into sort of more detail around what that means to the budget, but number 1 on the list is the landfill alternative project. We've been working on this since 2018. And really, this is the view of what we do with general waste once the Uluru landfill shuts down, which based on the current airspace will close 2026-27. So we've been putting a fair bit of effort into looking at what is the best available technology and making sure that we narrow down that gap between the landfill closing and looking at developing a new facility. The fibre polishing plant, second on the list, and that's largely on the back of the COAG bans in terms of the contamination rates will narrow down to under 2% from the 1st of July 2024. So we've got a reasonable infrastructure project that will hopefully occur within this next financial year that will bring us up to speed to make sure that we can utilise those overseas markets. And thirdly is the Paraka resource recovery project, which is bringing the site up to a compliant level. So having the correct fire systems in place, making sure that the correct pedestrian accesses are done and delineating between people and heavy machinery. But also any facility that accepts more than 20,000 tonne needs to have a weighbridge, which we don't currently. So that is another compliance issue that we'll be looking to deal with. Now I'll hand over to Sid and he can go through the details of the budget.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. This slide here outlines Norma's budget for next year in terms of income and expenditure. The majority of our income, 98%, comes from user charges, and the majority of our expenditure is for materials contracts and other things like waste collection, disposal, transport, fuel, etc. Some of the highlights include a total spend on CapEx of 11.6 million, the majority of it being for the fibre polishing plant, of which 7.2 million will be received in grants. And then the rest, 5.5 million, will be funded by Norma through loans. In terms of the landfill alternative project that Toby talked about earlier, the balance, the 780,000 in the budget is the balance of the money remaining that the board approved for expenditure. That's been budgeted for next year. Other big ticket items include $140,000 for market testing and tendering of all our major contracts, which expire in the next 12 to 18 months. And repairs and maintenance of existing plant and machinery are budgeted, forecast about 1.18 million. In terms of assumptions for the Norma budget, we're forecasting a 5% CPI, given the significantly high CPI that hit 8.6 at one stage. All the RBA commentary, etc., is around that'll be 5% midway through this year. That's what we forecast. EPA levy, which generally goes up by 3% each year, so we run with that. The growth we've used is as advised by the constituent councils. Wages increase have been kept to CPI. The admin charge that is levied to all the councils is going to increase by CPI. And we've used historical averages in terms of the weights of rubbish in the bins. 5% annual growth in hard waste, and repairs and maintenance is based on a 2-year average spend. In terms of income, our biggest sensitivity around income is the commodity pricing for MRF. It does fluctuate from month to month and quarter to quarter. The FY24 pricing is lower than the FY23 forecast. When the FY23 forecast budget was developed, the market was at its peak, and since then it has come down substantially. It is starting to rise again, but not to those same levels. We've used market intelligence data, local price guarantees, and forward sales orders to forecast our income for commodities from the MRF, and the yields are based on current trends. In terms of cost pressures and impacts to the budget, similar to what's happening around Australia in terms of inflation, our costs have significantly increased for waste disposal. We spend roughly around 5.1 million annually, of which FY23, the cost base was forecast, Norma forecast 2% increase. Cost increases were more around 5 or 6%, with the CPI being around 8.4%. Most of our contracts are driven by CPI increases, so you can see the gap there. The FY24 forecast CPI increase is on a higher cost base because our FY23 costs were substantially higher. Transport costs, again, is driven by the transport index for the majority of our contracts. And again, forecast was around the 2%, 2.5% for FY23. Actually ended up around the 15 or 16% mark, the increase, and then that higher cost base is then we've added another 5% for the FY24 year. Electricity, no doubt you'll be aware, significant impact to us as well, highly intensive for our MRF. Gone up between 135 to 270%, even on the local government contract. Insurance increase for insurance, and fuel, of course, highly, Norma has a highly intensive fuel operation. So that's hit us quite a bit as well. And just to keep in mind, all these costs, whilst some of them are passed on to councils, our constituent councils, not all of them can be recovered from our constituent councils, and not all of them can be recovered from our customers, because we've got to balance what we charge and look at equity as well. In terms of the operating result,
How many more slides have you got?
probably about 5, I'd say.
5.
Yeah.
Right. You've got another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Excellent.
No worries. In terms of the operating result, Norma is forecasting 1.3 million deficit, of which approximately 900,000 is made up of 2 one-off significant items: the landfill alternative and the 140,000 for the consultancies. Once those are removed, the bottom line is 450,000 in the red, which is closer to our long-term forecast. In terms of borrowings, existing loans are 5.3 and we'll look to borrow 5.5 million on the fibre polishing plant. We'll just go to the next slide, please. In terms of the ratios, other than the operating surplus ratios, all the other ratios are within the target ranges. The operating surplus ratio is slightly below and needs some work. The LTFP4, but that does include the two significant one-off items. Once they're removed, it gets back closer to the long-term financial forecast. Just go to the next slide, please. In terms of the gate fees for our RRCs, we've considered a number of things such as EPA levy increases, balancing cost recovery, level of subsidisation, and the impact of payloads that come through to set the gate fees. The majority of the gate fees will increase by 10%, with commercial gate fees to increase by 25%. Thank you. Next slide, please. That's just a quick snapshot of where the increases are. 10% and like I said, 25%. They're average increases, some are lower, some are higher, still well below market pricing, and same for both our RRCs. Thank you. In terms of Town of Gawler, 1% growth as advised by council, and I won't go through the tonnages. We've used historical data as well as extrapolated that data, made some forecasts and adjusted for various information at hand. Factors impacting costs for Town of Gawler, the garbage bin, significant increase due to the free FOGO bin rollout, split in the green bins, admin fees, CPI increase, waste processing, CPI increase offset by lower average bin weights, curbside collections, again, CPI increase, but on a significantly higher FY23 cost base, plus growth, plus the FOGO rollout. Hard waste, net increase due to higher cost base, growth and increase in participation levels. Solid waste levy, as I said earlier, 3% increase. The numbers, I won't go through all. The bottom line shows that it's going up by 7.4%.
Can't actually see them, so
Oh, okay.
can't actually read them. No, they're really hard to read. Yeah.
They have been emailed out.
We haven't received, have we received them?
They were emailed out to all the three CEOs.
Is it? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they have been sent out. 7.4% is the bottom line increase, of which 5% is CPI, and then there's the green waste has significantly increased, which has impacted that. Thank you. That's just detail of the slide before.
Yeah.
Won't go into numbers. In terms of these are the fees that Norma charges in terms of not the gate fees. There's the MRF gate fee stays at 0. And then there's curbside collection and so forth. I won't go through all the numbers, but generally they're around the 5%, no more than 5%, which is the CPI. Some are lower, some are slightly higher. Yeah. And finally, the next steps, council needs to consider the budget before the 31st May deadline. Let Norma know of the resolution, which we'll then take to our board and audit committee in June. And then once adopted, advise council in writing. At the same time, an annual business plan will be sent to constituent councils for consideration as well. And all that will go to the board and the audit committee in June. And then the fees and charges commence 1 July.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to take.
I've got a question. How much will it cost to build the landfill alternative project?
So we'll let Toby take that one.
Thank you, Mayor. We're working through that process at the moment. We're engaging with the market. We're going out to EPC contractors, technology providers, and we're hoping to come back to the board by June, and then we'll be presenting those findings to the councils.
Thank you. I'll take Councillor Hughes and then Councillor Solomon.
Thanks, Mayor. I've got a couple of questions. Probably the alternative landfill site does concern me. My experience on council is about 12, 13 years, Nanny. And when I first came on council, Norma was struggling financially. It was just starting to turn around, and I'm sort of seeing it's, you know, the industry itself, as you know, goes up and down, and you're going probably through a down again. But yeah, I'm really concerned that we may be heading that way. So you mentioned innovation, and yes, Norma in the past has been really innovative. I want to see that innovation again. I did ask about soft plastics, and been told not at the moment, even though Norma was one of the first to actually do the soft plastics with yellow bags. Now other councils, many years later, are now just starting to do those trials. I'd really like to see Norma actually get some uses for the soft plastics, as you've stated in a reply to council, that it's one of your major contamination issues. And I'm also, really concerned about the landfill alternative. So I'd really like to know how much has been spent on the landfill alternative site. We've got another, was it 920,000 forecasts for the works this following. But my understanding is, it sounds like there's been millions of dollars spent there. So well, I could get some answers on that, please.
Thank you, Toby. You can answer. If you could just press the button. Lovely.
There's quite a few questions there. In terms of the soft plastics, we are working hard behind the scenes to find a home for the soft plastics. I think any of the councils can go and put a collection service in and collect it, but we don't want to end up like Red Cycle, where we've got warehouses and stockpiles of material with no home for it. So our view is that we need to find a home for it. We need to find someone who's going to process it. There's plenty of articles in the media at the moment of companies and also councils who signed up to a collection trial and it doesn't go anywhere. So if we're going to go out to the community and say that this is a robust means to process and recycle soft plastics, we want to make sure that it's got a home to go to, and it's something that we can put our hand on our heart and say to the community, this is a worthwhile process. The alternative to landfill project, we haven't spent the budget that was agreed. As Sid said, we've got 700,000 to still in the budget. So if anything, it's underspent in terms of what we were going to spend before. Instead of Norma going out and developing this project itself, we've decided to talk to a project partner that can take on a lot of those skills and experiences in-house to save the constituent council's money in terms of developing, to get us to a point where we'll be at financial close in about 12 to 18 months. And that's the point where we say go or no go. But to get up to that point, we would have to spend anywhere to about $15 million on development costs to get it to financial close.
Councillor Solomon, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question again on the landfill alternative project. Can you outline for us what happens if we don't have a landfill alternative at the closure of Uligree in 2026?
I'll get used to this. Thank you, Councillor. I think in the budget presentation, you would have seen the landfill costs of about $5 million a year. So before we even start, the cost is going to be $5 million in terms of disposal fees. If we don't do it, then we've got to rely on third-party landfills. So currently in the north, there's one at Dublin, which is run by AWS, and there's one at Inkerman. If we were to turn the vehicles around to say Dublin, which is the closest, we would be spending about $500,000 on just diesel costs. So I can continue going through what that means for the councils if we don't go down this path. The waste to energy program is the most robust technology, and Norma has spent significant money on reviewing all of the different technologies. We've agreed on the waste to energy technology to progress, to get us to a point to have a look at what that gate fee looks like and the financials around that. And then we can make an educated decision once we've got all of that information in front of us. But the decision has been made to run with that and see where it goes financially.
Councillor Koch. Councillor Koch.
It's very interesting. We've just heard that the alternative is waste to energy. That's the first time it's been publicly announced that that's what Norma's going to do, which I find a bit surprising because we're under confidentiality clauses that we weren't to mention what the alternative was. very interesting. When we agreed to the $2.2 million, I know this council, I'm not sure what the other councils agreed to, but we agreed to a pathway where we would actually look at, we would have gateways, and we'd get to a point and we'd have a gateway and we'd say whether yes or no would go ahead. My view is we've actually gone past, and that was gateway 1, and then we had a whole lot of other gateways. My view is that we've actually gone past gateway 1, and now we're into one particular alternative, and we're actually looking at private-public partnerships. I don't think that this council actually signed up for that. So what I would actually ask, when will we be coming to gateway 1, and when will the individual councils be given an opportunity to decide on whether or not they want to go to waste to energy? Because waste to energy is a very controversial process. And we saw that in Sydney. We know what's happened in Sydney. It was completely rejected by the community in Sydney. And now that's what's that's all we've got now is waste to energy. I actually think there's other alternatives that haven't been pursued. But anyway, that's the question is, when will we get to gateway 1?
Toby, thank you.
Can I just mention that waste to energy means many different things? There's waste to energy organics, there's waste to energy in many other liquid forms. So it's a broad sense in terms of waste to energy. But I don't think that it's probably worth taking this conversation. We've got a board meeting tomorrow, and you've sent me questions around board papers that we will address tomorrow, and I don't think it's probably acceptable to talk about that in this forum.
When will this council get a briefing? When will that happen?
The council will get a briefing after June, when we get all of the responses in from the market.
Options rather than just a PPP?
Yes, yeah, definitely. There's going to be different financing options, for sure.
Good, thank you. Is that gateway 1? Because I remember those gateways, and we haven't really complied with those gateways at all.
I think since I've started with Norma, the gateways still exist, but we've extended gateway 1 to incorporate a lot more and get a lot more out of that. So
that's not what we agreed to, though, really, was it?
But we haven't gone past gateway 1.
But it'll be after June, will it? Is that September, October, or is it July?
Well, after the June board meeting.
After the June board meeting. Okay, thank you, Toby.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Vallelonga?
Sorry, I forgot your name.
Toby.
Toby, yeah. Good 6 months ago, about probably 6 to 8 months ago, there was a program on TV. I'm not sure if it was the 7:30 report or Four Corners, but I'm a little bit confused that all our waste really ends up in landfill. So why are we wasting council rates money on, and then that's all it's going to, because at the end of the day, they can't do anything with it. And have you seen the program I'm talking about?
I think that was based in the eastern states, very much so. I don't know if that refers to what Norma is doing with their waste management, particularly around Gawler. Sorry? Yes, but I think Norma is quite responsible in the way they manage their waste. If you'd like to just elicit that, Toby.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that program, but is that something that suggested that recycling was going to landfill as well?
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's been many stories out there about services that say they're doing one thing, but they're doing others. Norma collects red bin waste that then goes to a transfer station into Uluru. It's baled up and goes to Uluru. The recycled yellow recycling that goes to our MRF and is processed into recyclable materials ready for either export to other states or export overseas. And more than happy if
the green waste. The green waste is recycled as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so the green waste goes also to our Ed North depot. It's loaded up by Pete's and it's taken out and reprocessed into garden organics that goes back as compost material.
Yeah. So I think we do things slightly differently, and I don't think we do what was said in that. I saw that program and I was quite shocked, but I think that I think Norma is quite responsible in the way they manage their waste. Yeah.
Even to the point that the C&D construction demolition material or the householders that drop concrete, that goes off to Resource Co. It's made into road base, it goes out into civil products. The glass that comes off the plant either goes back to the bottle yard not far from here, the recycling Aura, and the really fine stuff goes to Resource Co and it's ground up and it goes into road-based material too. So there's many different streams that we pull out and we recycle. So I think the difficult part for us now is to focus on not only education so that we make sure that the material doesn't get into the red bin in the first place, but also, you know, what other things can we put in place to make sure that we can, you know, extract the recyclates out of that waste stream the best we can, being a residual material.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Davies?
Yeah, just wondering if we're continuing to see Gola have an increased percentage of FOGO tonnage compared to other types of waste?
We've definitely seen an increase in volume this year, and I think it was largely because of the wet winter that we had, and that was seen across the 3 constituent councils. But I think certainly the uptake of the organics bin is growing on a yearly basis, and you can see that, you know, in the budget model. But once again, it comes down to education and making sure that we're out there in the market really promoting the green waste opportunity. But also, you know, the questions around the table here, does the community actually know that it goes to Pete's and it's recycled and it can be purchased back for parks and gardens? And
that's right. They do a really good job, Pete's, don't they? Thank you, Toby, for answering those questions. I think I will allow you to sit down now. So, councillors, we have an officer's recommendation here. Councillor Hughes, you've got your hand up.
I've just maybe a question for the staff, I think, but with the officer's recommendation, whether we can actually express a concern about the costs and expenditure on the alternatives landfill site.
We can put a point 2 if that's what you wish.
Yes.
Do you want to wordsmith a point 2? Just say that the town of Gawler expresses its concerns around the potential costs. CEO, if you can help with assistance in that regard.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, following on further to the sentiment of the conversation, I think going on from what you were saying, Councillor Hughes, that the town of Gawler expresses its concerns as to the current and intended expenditure.
Well, we don't know what the intended expenditure is yet, do we?
Well, that's right. That's why I'm referencing both.
But we don't know what the intended expenditure, we don't know what that is.
Well, Toby's referenced the $720,000 that's left in the budget.
Yes, yes. But aren't we expressing, Councillor Hughes, were you expressing concerns about the alternative landfill or?
Yes, because I mean, yeah, we were presented quite a while ago and we're given the opportunity to actually get more briefings, and we haven't had those briefings.
We haven't had any briefings.
And
yeah.
And now we've got a deficit budget, which is mainly in deficit because costs in this are related to this matter, which we haven't got the information for.
No.
So that's why I think is an appropriate risk to Gawler Council. We actually express some concern with that.
Okay.
So through the chair, then
following on from that, as to the current and intended expenditure pertaining to the energy to waste, the landfill alternative project.
Pertaining to the landfill alternative project investigations.
Yes.
Pertaining to the, I think we'll use landfill alternative project at this stage, investigations. I think that's probably the more correct term. Town expresses as to the current and intended expenditure pertaining to the landfill alternative project investigations. What do you want to say, Sharon? Yes?
I was just wondering whether we wanted to actually incorporate expresses its concern to Norma.
To Norma. To, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Yes. Okay. Do you wish to move that way? Do you wish to speak? Okay. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, and thank you for the assistance with the wording. The reason for the extra clause is, I think, because of the fact that we can spend a lot of money and we'll still be having to pay for diesel to shift waste probably a distance, because it's going to be difficult to set something up with probably in a close by footprint anyway. So I do think that the Norma hasn't been briefing us as they promised originally. I think it's important that council expresses its concern to Norma, and I realise that the waste industry is tricky, and in the past Norma has saved us funds, but we do need to be on the front foot and be working quite carefully in this area as well. So yeah, like this motion, please be supported. Thanks.
Do I have a seconder? Are you happy to second, Councillor Solomon?
Time to move an amendment. Is that after it's been seconded, or?
I'd
move it
I'd
now?
prefer to get a seconder.
No worries.
And then I'll take your amendment. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Vallelonga, thank you. So you wish to move an amendment?
I wish to move an amendment that we return to the wording of the original motion.
That's not an amendment. That's
not
quite
an
a
amendment?
significant.
Oh,
That's
okay.
an amendment is
That's
minor
fine.
adjustments.
Okay, I note we previously did that in a committee. In that case, I'm happy to speak against the motion.
Okay.
All right, no thanks. I think that's adding that point 2 in there is really the wrong idea here. I think it's unnecessarily antagonistic to both the other 2 constituent councils and to Norma. I don't know what initiative has actually been taken to see whether we can have a briefing, whether anyone has reached out to Norma to do that. And I'm disappointed at that lack of leadership from probably some of the more senior members who have been involved with Norma, because I actually earlier today sent an email to organise a meeting with Toby to actually discuss exactly that, when we would be getting a briefing. I think this discussion has gone in a really unhelpful direction. We've started talking or airing dirty laundry in what is a budget report. And we're now using that to be intentionally antagonistic towards both our neighbours to the south and to Norma. And I think this represents a larger issue with the way that we've been approaching things as a council over the past few years, where we make these kinds of statements or come out guns blazing without any real consideration for what's happening. If we had an issue with this expenditure before tonight, then we should have taken proactive steps to seek out Norma to come and give a presentation.
I think that's what our
council.
board members have been doing. I think that's what they've been doing. Yes.
I'm not aware of that, Mayor.
Yeah, I think that's been the case. Yes.
Right, well, even if that is true, I'm happy to stand corrected, but even if that is true, I still think this is unnecessarily antagonistic and that we can do with having a briefing before expressing that concern, because we don't have the full details in front of us and we're talking about something which is held as commercial in confidence in passing sort of forward statements about it. And I'm not happy to just go out there on a limb and say this kind of stuff without having all the details before the full council.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Koch, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, look, I'll be supporting this. I mean, I've been on the board for a number of years. I've probably been involved with Norma close to 12 years, either as a deputy or as a board member. This alternative has changed dramatically from the day it was first proposed to us. We had a number of alternatives. We only now have one alternative. We're now going to move into a private-public partnership, supposedly, which was never ever on the board. For example, also the goalposts have moved completely, and I won't go into any detail, but it has moved completely different to what we actually agreed to. And I raised concerns at meetings about it, meeting after meeting, and in some respects I've been hailed down by others. So, you know, I've tried to bring up issues that I've, you know, been quite derided at meetings. I find it quite disturbing when I've, you know, just tried to bring up issues that I thought were, which I've concerned about, which I'm sure our council have concerned about, and to be treated that way. So to say that we haven't been trying to get the information is incorrect. I think the way it's moving, it's going down a track which may put our council in incredible situation, incredibly dire situation. And yes, it is. We need to look at it now because this is a budget item and they're asking for more money. We've got a deficit, and we need to go on top of this. And the biggest problem I have is that the coming to Gateway 1 keeps on moving when it should have been right at the start. And we were told that we would get to Gateway 1 pretty quickly, but it's gone from here by a couple of years down the track, and people have just gone on with it. And I don't think we've actually been really informed about it. At the board level, yes, but I don't think at the council level we haven't. And I think it's very serious. And we need to be on top of it, and we need to express that we have concerns, because I certainly have concerns. And I've tried my hardest, but I don't get, I just get pretty despondent at meetings the way I'm treated when I bring up concerns that I have. So that's where I'm sitting. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Anybody wish to speak again? You've got a question?
Thank you. Can I please get some clarification on whether any member of council or staff has sought a briefing from Norma in the last 3 months?
CEO, you're on the board.
No, I've not sought a briefing for council on the matter because the board has been deliberating and has been going through a process. And as Toby was alluding to, that point is coming soon where a position will be formed, and then that's the right junction for a briefing to council. So that's where I sit in terms of where we're at with the landfill alternative project and the briefings that have had and will happen sooner rather than later.
You got another question?
So
how many questions do you need? You got
just-
3 per meeting.
Just one more. I promise. So just to clarify what was said there. So it hasn't been deemed necessary by Henry that we should have had a briefing until after that point.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we shouldn't have had. So we shouldn't have had a briefing.
Well, I think it's been a couple of years, and I would have expected that we would have had a briefing last year, the previous council. However, we haven't. I think that just even an update briefing of where they're at would have been useful. I think that's, to say that we're ready to make a decision. I think that's a little bit you know, we've got a brand new council here and we're going to be asked to make a decision. And I think that's a little bit unfair. And I think that maybe we need a little bit of background information on this project, a bit more, rather than just, you need to make a decision, council.
So that was a no. We should have had a briefing.
I think we should have. And, you know, we do have board members sitting at, that's the role of a board member. That's the role of the board member. That's why we have council representatives on these boards to bring back that information and to trigger whatever it might be. So, you know, I'm not on the board. I'm not privy to those conversations. So
That's fallen on the junior board member to do that.
that is the role of our council representatives, to bring back that information, including our CEO. So we'll see where that goes. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I don't mean to cause any offence with this one, but I can't support this motion the way that it sits, because I'm neither educated enough to be either concerned or excited about a project, which I think is the sentiment we can all agree on here, that we're a little bit uneducated in this space, some more than others. And look, if there was a motion to come up at some point in time with requesting maybe an information briefing on this project in the future, that might be something I can get around. But the way that this particular report has been presented and the way that the budget has been presented and even the presentations tonight, I'm satisfied that we will see some more information come. I take on board some of the concerns, but I don't know if I'm in a position to back those concerns, because at board level they weren't backed. So yeah, I'm going to vote against this, and if it goes back to the original motion, I'm happy to support that. But again, I'm happy to look at some future workshops or some information briefing if there is some appetite in saying, no, we want a briefing before the briefing. Well, let's unpack that. But I'm not there to add in the point 2 on this particular motion, because I might have some other concerns. I might have some other excitements that I want to unpack, rather than just focusing on this one. So that's where I sit.
Okay. Councillor Hughes, I'm going to ask you to close the debate.
Thank you. Yeah, if you read the report and the attachments, the major reason for going over budget and into deficit is the costs to do these investigations. It's our due diligence as councillors to raise matters of concern, or especially with expenditure. It is our responsibility. So if at a later date it's found that this process doesn't go ahead and no concerns were raised, I think people in the community will want to know why their elected members or board members weren't taking action or weren't getting involved and weren't raising concerns. And yeah, there has been millions of dollars, and there's $920,000 yet to be spent. And we were told that there were going to be gates and all sorts of things. That hasn't happened at this stage. So for us not to say anything, I think would be irresponsible. So that's why I've asked for point 2. Thanks.
Thank you. The debate is now closed. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Councillor Solomon has called a division. All those in favour, please stand. So all those in favour are Councillor Koch, Councillor White, Councillor Vallelonga, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Hennessy. Please stay standing. All those against are Councillor Davies, Councillor Deputy Mayor Shanks, Councillor Solomon, and councillor Sample. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Did you get that, Chris? Awesome work. Nice work. So now we'll move on to, thank you everyone for that really quite intense debate. Thank you, our visitors, Toby and Sid Jane. Thank you very much for your considered responses and your candid answers to questions. Thank you very much. Okay, speed limit, Schomburg Drive on page 8. How do you wish to proceed? Does somebody want to move the motion? You happy to move that motion, councillor White? Are you happy? Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
happy. Yeah, no, happy to speak to this. Look, obviously coming in relatively new as an elected member, I know that this has been an ongoing discussions, reading the report and attachments. Previous members of council, I'm sure, will be able to testify to these issues, but I'm just glad to see that council is moving in this space, because we know that the community are concerned with this topic. So I think if this is what the recommendation is to move to the next step, then I'm happy to move.
Are you happy to second? Thank you, councillor White. I've just seen councillor Valalonga. Sorry, councillor Sample. You can second councillor Valalonga. Any discussion? I've got councillor Hughes and then deputy mayor.
Probably more a question, because we have already spent a fair bit of money on this. What is, Joe, if we do, this motion does get passed, it just means it's going to go into a wish list for later on, or just the actions through the staff?
Wendy Young.
Through you, Mayor Karen. So the intent of this of the recommendation is that we consider the function of Schomburg Drive, including its speed, as part of that integrated traffic and transport strategy that we've put up as one of the new initiatives. Because unless we look at the road in the larger context of traffic and the future of the town, we're not going to understand what the actual need for significant further investment in the road is. So it's not a standalone piece of work. This would be part of that integrated traffic and transport plan.
Thank you. Any other questions? Did you have a question, Deputy Mayor, or did that answer your question? Oh, you just want to speak. Well, I might ask councillor Hughes, and then I'll come to the Deputy Mayor.
So my understanding of what Ms. Wendy Young said was that this means that for future planning of Gawler, the speed of this road is something that's going to be considered, or does this mean that we're going to invest funds in this speed upgrade again at a later date, which we've already done?
So there's a question around the speed limit and also investing funds in a road that costs 68 million.
Yes,
Sorry.
so the first, through you, Chair. So the first part of the question is understanding what the actual function and speed of the road should be, needs to be part of that integrated traffic and transport strategy. So does that make sense?
Yes, keep going, Wendy.
But
I'm not going back and forward. We're not going back and
then
forward.
any future investment that would be required to increase the speed of the road based on the assessment of the need in the big picture of traffic and transport for Gawler would then be the subject of future recommendation.
Are you incorporating costs?
There would definitely have to be costs included in as part of that recommendation in the future.
Right, okay, thank you. You wish to speak?
In that regard, I'll speak against the motion. This road was supposed to be an 80-kilometre road for when it was first raised by DIPTI. Unfortunately, it was built as a 60 to a 50. This area is going to be a built-up area of housing at one stage, so it may end up reverting. So, I mean, we've already spent a fair bit of money on this. The traffic reports, the attachments, attachment 2 in the report highlights that there's some real pinch points that would require incredible expenditure. And even my understanding is the trees that have been planted there aren't there for 60-kilometre-hour trees, they're 50-kilometre-hour trees, so they'd have to be removed. So yeah, there's quite a lot of expenditure involved in trying to upgrade, and we've already investigated that. And this area will be built up as housing. So I'm concerned with extra expenditure if this motion is.
We did take this road to a government authority to ask whether it would be in fact a collector road rather than a local road, and we were knocked back. They refused and they said this will be just a local road. Now, I don't agree with that. I actually think it's going to end up being a collector road, and it's going to be a major road going through. I think we maybe need to revisit that question, because if it is a collector road, why are we managing it? And we need to have a stronger argument to, if it is going to be a collector road or an arterial road, let's just call it an arterial road, then we need to have a stronger argument to take to the authority that manages and decides whether what the road hierarchy shall be and who looks after that road, because it may be a question to revisit. Councillor Sample, you had your hand up next.
Thank you, Mayor Karen. I understand what's being said, and I see what Councillor White is saying. Well, let's get on with it and so forth. But when I see dates here like vintage for 2046, well, I won't be here, that's for sure. And the whole point about it is there's no dates in there, there's no time. This is going to be another talk fest. It really is. I drove down there today, and now 2 more trees are laying on their side and things like that. I think one big question, do we own that road, or are we going to own that road, or is it going to be a dip tie?
Ultimately, no. We've been knocked back. It's not a dip-tie road. It will ultimately be our road. Currently, parts of it are not our road. They're under the developer, but that will ultimately come to council. And that was why I raised those questions.
Yeah.
Councillor Hennessy, you have your
To me,
hand up.
to me, it's just a talk fest, and I can't support something. I like to see dates, you know, we're going to do something within 6 months or whatever, because the community is probably hounding everyone as they are hounding me. Doing this is crazy stuff. So
Yes,
I think we've got to get on with
I was
things.
spoken to by Gary Hurst in no uncertain terms. Now, Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do understand, and I empathise with Councillor Sample. But whenever we go into a situation like this, we do need to have a strategy or a master plan or something that we can take back to government. We have to have the proof and the investigation. So I actually am going to support it, because I think looking at what we all acknowledge is a real problem and has been from day dot with this flaming road, we now need to build the case so that we can go into bat with all the information together. While it's called the 2046 plan strategy, I am quite sure that we will be able to make use of such a strategy to get on and deal with some of the worst case situations. And I think linking this to a connection to the Sturt Highway is definitely the way, in conjunction with the Concordia development, is the definite way to move forward. I think it's the only way to move forward. Otherwise, we're just going to bang our heads against that wall. Thank you.
Now, I think you were next, Deputy Mayor. And then Councillor Koch.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, to be fair, I did read the report a couple of times, and it took me a while to unpack the theme. But the way that I read this is, yes, look, we weren't too happy with getting knocked back either on the collector road. However, with the development of our new strategy called 2046, we're going to try to leverage that and show our growth, and show what impost that growth, I use impost as a loose term, is going to have on some of these roads. And they're going to turn, once we're local roads, into collector roads, and let's unpack that. To me, this report is purely keeping the door open as a direction that the last chamber gave, and I think it was a good direction to give, given the feedback that we've received on this particular asset that was thrust upon us as a local council. I see this as a opening to a strategy to see how we can get it back into government and leverage that position. And this particular motion is not, also just to be clear, is not committing to any spend the way this sits. This is purely looking at bigger picture, which has been touched on in the goal of 2046 as we talked to before. So yeah, like I said, it took me a couple of goes to read the report, but that was the theme that I took from it. And I'm pretty confident that I got there in the end. But yeah, some of the contradiction, I guess, that I was picking up on is in the financials. It actually says it's not feasible to do anything. But then in the recommendation, we need to keep the door open. So that's how I arrived at there, and I don't see the harm of endorsing this road being looked at as the bigger picture thinking. So hopefully we can get some support with the officer's recommendation.
Councillor Koch.
Yeah, look, I've read it a few times. I suppose that for me, we cannot change the outlay of the road. There's no way known. And even if you just decide to put the speed up, cars will, you know, it talks about the radial, whatever it is, the radial arc or whatever it is, the horizontal curve radio, which I assume means that if you go around there too fast, you tip over. So you really can't, you can't say to people, you know, let's change it so you can drive faster, because you're going to roll your car over basically. So it talks about it's just impossible financially to do anything. So you might have to widen the bridge, do all these things, buy extra land to make bigger curves, everything else. We just can't afford that. I mean, I'd shut up to think how many millions of dollars that would, you know, 50, 60 million, who knows. So I assume, and then reading this, what it is saying to me is that down the track, we'd like that to be a collector road, not a local road. That's it. But we're not going to change anything because we can't.
No.
Is that what it means?
I think the investigations will clarify a lot of that information. Councillor Davies, you're going to bring in any new information, or you're just going to agree? You're going to bring in any new information? No? Okay. I'm going to ask Councillor White to close the debate. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Just a quick question through you, excuse me. The Gawler 2046 integrated transport strategy, do we have a timeline on when that would be completed?
That's part of the draft budget.
Yeah, so if it got approved
next financial year,
it would be within the next financial year? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No, thanks. I thank council members for their input and their discussion. I can see where many of you are coming from. I think Deputy Mayor Shanks put it right when this is about keeping the door open. I don't think we necessarily know all the ins and outs of exactly what this is going to look like in the future, but I believe that this motion allows us to keep that door open for whatever possibility is going to be best for the community in the long term. So happy to support this motion and urge councillors to support it in order to keep that door open.
I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It's carried. Thank you. So moving on to 10.3, Ryde Street beautification, tree planting in 80km/h zone. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder first before I take questions. Are you happy to move that way, Councillor Hennessy? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Vallelonga, you second. Are you happy to second that motion? So we'll have a mover and I'll have a seconder now. Councillor Deputy Mayor, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess two questions. One, I'm right in saying that this potentially could be a strategy to lower the speed limit to that road.
Well, it's owned and operated by DIT.
Yeah, yes.
You'd have to go through DIT.
But unless the speed is lowered once those trees come to maturity, they'll be too big. That was question one, sorry.
Through the chair, it's certainly not.
It says actually on page 16 it says, should the speed limit on this section of Ryde Street be reduced from 80 to 50 or 60, the roadside risk would significantly reduce and the plantation of calorie pear up to full maturity will satisfy the requirements set out. If the speed changes.
So the
Yeah.
tree planting isn't a ploy to get the speed limit changed, clearly, just to make that absolutely clear. What this, yes, yeah, right.
So you,
So-
you're speaking to me, Wendy.
Oh, I beg
You're
your
speaking
pardon.
to me, yeah.
So the reason we've written this report is we had the historical budget bid to do the street beautification along this section of road.
Yeah.
So the 50 kilometre section of Ryde Street is no problem. However, the section that is currently 80 kilometres an hour, the future risk is that we plant these trees now, and if the speed limit remains at 80, once the trunk size, the caliper size is of such a limit that it becomes a non-frangible impact, that the trees may have to be removed. This 80 section of Ryde Street at the moment is likely to be reduced because there is residential development going into that at some point, into that block of land adjacent to Ryde Street and off of Jack Clipper Drive, which would be a trigger to have the speed limit reviewed.
So it's highly likely that there will be an application to reduce the speed limit?
Yes, yes, that's right.
Is that a yes answer?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, okay, okay. I think that sort of answers. Yep, you happy with that? Councillor Fallon, you got your hand up? Hello?
Isn't that a floodplain?
Yes, it is. I've seen lots of water there over the years. Yes, but I guess with good stormwater management, maybe. Anyway, we'll leave that. That's really up to the developer to work out, isn't it? Councillor Hennessy?
Through you, a question then, should we, to make it absolutely clear our intention, should we include in the officer's recommendation some wording about the seeking?
It says it.
No.
The expectation, the roadside environment will be reduced to 50 Ks. Is that
Yeah.
what you mean? No?
I was thinking that it would be worthwhile just changing the words from the expectation. No,
May,
okay.
you could put may.
No, leave it as it is. I guess in the report, it wasn't absolutely clear. It's been clarified tonight through a question, to the answer to the question that we are, as a council, seeking for that to be changed from 80 to 50. It's a nonsensical speed limit anyway, so I think that's actually a really positive thing, and we should move ahead quickly with that. I just wanted to make it absolutely clear to the community that that's what we're going to do. We have no intention of wasting trees, because we have every expectation that we can get it to be the speed limit brought down. So no, we'll leave it at that then. Thank you.
Councillor Koch, you got your hand up? You're bringing in any new information?
I've just got two questions.
Yes.
When we're looking at the planting stock, it says there we spoke to local nurseries. Are we actually talking to wholesalers or nurseries, local nurseries?
Through the chair, so working through our wholesalers. Yeah.
Thank you.
The question is, it's about a bit over, is it $1,300 per tree? I just want to get an idea about the specifications. I mean, this is a bit boring, but about the whole preparation. Are the other trees going to be planted in overly rich soil or into essentially natural ground?
Through the chair, so our standard tree planting specification does have the addition of some soil nurturing properties, but it's not, the tree pit isn't filled solely by that. There is an integration with natural soil.
Thank you. I think that answers your question, Councillor White.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a question regarding the cost, and I just want to get this crystal clear when it comes to beautification on behalf of all the community. This is going to cost $34,920 excluding GST.
That's it. That's what it says.
Can I, through you, Chair, just get confirmation of that crystal clear?
Well, if it's in the agenda, it's
Mm.
correct.
Okay. So
It's correct.
so with the budget of 50,000, does that mean, obviously that's excluding GST, does that mean it can't be over $50,000? Is that how that works?
I think you've already got quotes. Is that what you've got? And it's come to 34,920 excluding GST. So that's the cost. That is the cost. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Hennessy, you can close the debate. Oh, you'd like to speak? Okay.
Look, I'll be voting against this. I think that the species that are selected, I think, are incorrect. And with climate change, they potentially will require more maintenance than we think. When I go past there, it's a floodplain, and I really wonder whether, you know, you'd really have to do a lot of development and whatever to actually get above the flood height. Yes, and I think, and so if there's no development, the speed limit won't go down, and therefore we'll have to take the trees out when they get over 100 millimetres diameter. So I think it's not a very good idea. And just broadly speaking, I think we need to not, as councils, not decide on. Oh, no, I won't go into that. Okay, I just won't. I won't be voting for it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Hennessy, you can close the debate.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I find myself in a difficult situation. I saw this as a commitment from a previous council. So on that basis, I am willing to support it. I hear the debate. I do agree with the costs of this whole beautification, and we've already had one unhappy section of the community with one idea. But for that reason, I'm happy to support the motion and see how the chamber votes. Thank you.
The debate is closed. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Please raise your hands. All those against? Yeah, the motion is carried. Thank you. Councillor Hughes has called a division. All those in favour, please stand. All those in favour, please stand. I'll call your names out. Councillor White, Councillor Davies, Councillor Vallelonga, Councillor Deputy Mayor Shanks, Councillor Solomon. All those against are Councillor Koch, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Hennessy and Councillor Samball. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Did you get that, Chris? He was for it. He was for it. Davies, Shanks, Solomon, Vallelonga, White. Yep. Hennessy, Hughes. Yep. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to 10.4, Enterprise Risk Management Framework, and we have received a late item, the framework itself. We did have a workshop on this. I think I'm personally quite happy with the statements. I think they're quite sound. You happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes? You happy to second, Councillor Vallelonga? Do you wish to speak at all?
Just really briefly to say, yeah, really happy with the workshops and the risk statements, and it was really good working with a lot of the staff as well on this. I thought it was a really good team effort. So.
Yeah, it was a team effort. Yeah, I think it was great collaboration. Any other discussion, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to support it and also echo what Councillor Hughes said. I think the workshop was quite eye-opening. When we talk about risk and how we define it is always based on our own experiences with risk. The funny thing that I noticed when we start talking about this topic is I've been dealing with this topic for many years in construction, and that also goes from, you know, not only operational risk but also corporate risk, and every decision that we make during the day is always looked through that lens. And I think it is a good thing to bring local government online, because it is a language that has been spoken for a long time now. So I look forward to seeing the implementation and start seeing those structures roll through, even through to our agenda. We'll start seeing some of that language come through in a more consistent way. So yeah, look, I'm happy to support the motion the way that it sits, and look forward to it rolling out.
Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Hughes, are you happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. thank you. Now 10.5, councillor Kosh, you wanted to declare a conflict?
Just want to declare a general interest, a
Yes.
general conflict
Yes.
in this.
Yeah.
Mr. Gordon Kosh is a distant relative of mine, but
Yeah.
I do know of him, and also I do see his wife every now and again. So on the balance, I've decided to declare this and leave the meeting.
So you're going to deal with the matter by leaving the meeting. You've declared a general conflict and his distant relative and dealt with the conflict in a transparent, accountable way and left the meeting. We'll just get that right, Chris. Thank you very much. That's great. And dealt with the matter by leaving the meeting. I think we might, and dealt with the matter by leaving the meeting. Yeah. Sorry, Chris. Sorry. Okay, you happy to move that? Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Karen. Yes, very happy to move this. Had a long association with all the many years involved with many different things and so forth. And he was also a volunteer at the Visitor Information Centre for about 4 years, and was always available to do that work that a lot of people didn't want to do, was the weekend shifts and things like that. So very happy to move this motion and ask for councillors to support it.
Yeah, they were certainly a lovely family, which I knew. I went to school with the children. I'm not related to the Koshes at all, but did go to school with the children. Yeah. So yes, a lovely family, and I think it's quite a worthy addition, don't you? Yeah. You wish to second? Yeah. Thank you, councillor Hughes. Any discussion? If not, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against, it is carried. Thank you. If somebody would like to, thank you, David. So we're moving on to, thank you, councillor Kosh. We're moving on to 10.6, participatory budgeting. Yes. You'd like to move that way, councillor Davies?
Yeah, look, I was involved in the subcommittee for this, and we had some good discussions, and I think all of these here are really great bids by local members of the community, and just to thank them for participating in this process, because I think it really is beneficial to the town.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, Deputy Mayor? All good. Any further discussion? Councillor Kosh?
Yeah, just one thing. In the report, it mentions that I was involved with one of them. All I was involved in helping Mr. Davies through the process.
Ah, right.
So it wasn't
you weren't actively involved.
No, it was just, he wanted to, he's a
Know the
very,
process.
yeah, he's an incredible practitioner in this area. And I just helped him with the process.
Okay.
That's all,
fine.
that's it.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
That's why I haven't declared a conflict. Thank you.
No problem. Any other discussion? You happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, Deputy Mayor. Do you seek leave to make a personal statement? Does council give leave? Can you show hands? Yes, you have leave, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, members. I'll only speak briefly. I guess this particular item is, the way that I look at it, is an opportunity of upskilling the role of a deputy mayor. At this point in time, it's myself. But the hope would be that if the opportunity arose for someone else, the opportunity would be equally given. And I think that's an important point to make when there is an appetite for any role to do that extra training, that support, I think, should always flow through to that appetite. I'll also note that in tonight's recommendation and the policy change, should this cost the same amount next year, it actually wouldn't be a decision of council, but it's just a timing thing, and it's good to open the discussion up early in the term. So on that, I've chosen to declare a conflict, and I'll be leaving the room.
A general conflict?
A general conflict on the matter, and I'll be
No
leaving
problem.
the room before the vote, just because I don't feel right about voting on my own training in this particular space. So on that, I'll leave you with it.
Thank you. Dealt with it in the best interest and left the room. Dealt with the matter by leaving the room, Chris. He's the subject regarding his attendance at the Deputy Mayor Forum. That's probably the reason. Regarding his attendance at the Deputy Mayor Forum. Because he wishes to attend, or words to that effect, Chris. Thank you. Okay, that's dealt there. Okay, elected members, do you wish to move that motion? Do you wish to speak? Just, oh. Hang on, I think I saw Councillor Sample first. So moved by Councillor Davies, seconded by Councillor Sample. Any discussion? If we don't need to, if you're happy, I'll put that motion. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, all those again. Oh, I'll do it again. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you. So, thank you, Deputy Mayor. So 10.8, we're going out for public consultation as required under Section 92 of the Local Government Act to get some community feedback. Are you happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes? You happy to second Councillor Vallelonga? Just allow Chris to, beautiful. Thank you, Chris. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Davies and Councillor Kosh and Deputy Mayor.
So just a, might have missed it, but in terms of access to committee meetings, how far back does that go in time?
Where are you looking? Which page of the attachments?
Hold on.
Which ones? Tell me the page.
Hold on,
You're looking at access to council and council meetings and council documents?
Yeah.
Or, okay,
Hold on, I'm just.
the new one, right, for a period of the operation. Kept on public display. I think this is a current, this doesn't, it's not relating to archives. I think, is that correct, Sharon? Yeah.
Yes, through the chair. So effectively, this is for current, I suppose, more recent. However, if anyone would be requesting access to previous minutes, they're still public documents, so they would still be readily be made available. But obviously,
if you can find them.
Yeah. Obviously, we can't keep all records on the website, which is, I think, is what your question is, just because of the storage requirements to maintain that level of documents. But effectively, minutes and that are public documents, so if they can be requested.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Hennessy, got your hand up.
Thank you. I hear what you're saying about capacity. So if somebody requests something before 2010, can it be supplied to them electronically rather than having to charge them for a paper copy?
Through the chair, yes, if we've got it electronically. Yeah.
Thank you. You've got another question?
Just clarification. So like by being provided electronically, there would be no charge for that. Whereas the charge would come if it had to be printed. That's where
I think that's what Sharon was saying. Is that correct? I think that's correct. Okay, that's been clarified, Deputy Mayor.
Just on the attachments on page 95 of 166.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. 95, let's just, yes,
Yeah.
I'm over there. Yep.
Just noting the tracking changes there. I was just wondering if I could just get some clarity. I found 6.6 pretty clear that that a meeting could permit the inclusion of any member of the meeting should the item arise, and it even uses a good example. And that's item 6.6 that's been deleted. And then also 6.2 around the subject to an appropriate resolution of council. Is that not still accurate? Because council could still consider that they don't want to go into confidence on any matter, but it says that the matter should be considered in confidence. So that's a recommendation, but until a resolution of the chamber. So I was just wondering about those 2 points.
So we're on page 90, was it 95? 95. And it's 6.6 has been removed, and Deputy Mayor is asking why.
But yeah, 6.6, sorry, I
Yeah.
skipped it. So in
And
the
then-
change
and-
in 6.2 as well.
Yes, and it says that, yeah, the members of the public will be asked to leave the meeting in 6.2.
I'll have to take that on notice and follow that up with the team leader of governance as to the reason why.
Okay, makes it a little bit tricky, doesn't it? Should we defer this matter? If you don't know why, I'm just wondering whether we should defer this matter, because I think that's an important point. If we're going to endorse these policies, yeah, I just we've got an active. We've got. It is a valid question, and I think that what we could do is lay this matter on the table and then raise it up once we've got the answer, and we could raise it up at any council meeting. We could do that. Somebody who hasn't spoken in the debate could move. You have only asked a question. You haven't spoken in the debate. You're happy to move that we lay this matter on the table? Yeah. Sharon?
I'm just reading in with regard to the section. So it's actually in the section to process to exclude people from the meeting. And that's probably why I think that it's actually been excluded, because this talks about it's not talking about excluding those people.
I think it's a really important question though, and I think rather than yeah, I think we can get that further clarified, because there is some I feel that there's not, you know, we actually want to support these policies, but I think that might be an important question to have clarified, and it might be that we put that back in. And we could potentially put that back in if we wanted to, but maybe we get further clarification on why before we do that. So if you are happy, Deputy Mayor, to lay that matter on the table, you're happy to do that? Yes. So the question lie on the table. The question lie on the table. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Vallelonga. That is a formal motion. That the question lie on the table. There is no debate on formal motions. I will now, I've got a mover and a seconder. I will now put that matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That is carried unanimously. So remember, you can raise that. Once we get clarification, we can raise that from the table. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. That was a good question, Deputy Mayor. I think we might just have a quick break. We'll come back at 9 o'clock and get going with the rest of the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Let's get going, guys. Sorry? Yeah. That's good. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So we have 4 information reports. How do you wish to proceed? We can move them on block and talk to any one of them if you wish. You're happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes? You're happy to second, Councillor Vallalonga, that we move the information reports on block? As I said, you can talk to any one of them if you wish. We've got council on block. I'm going to test that motion. I'll put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Question about what?
Mayor, just on the Reed playground.
Yes.
In the attachments on page 136 of 165, it talks about the elements that will go into the playground over time.
Yes.
And includes a flying fox and an embankment slide. Now, when I first came to Gawler, probably 20 or 30, all those years ago, we used to have one of those up at Conley, and there was a serious accident.
Well, somebody got killed.
Yes. So I'm just wondering why that's still in this document.
Well, I guess that's part of the community engagement. Wendy, if you'd like to respond, please.
So through you, Chair. So those recommendations or those items are the things that have come out through the consultation, is the things that the community desire. Noting, the historic tragic events at Conley. I guess moving on from that, there are numerous parts around the place that have flying foxes, and we're not necessarily suggesting that the flying fox is within the embankment going down. There's different ways we could design it to have it meeting all the current safety regulations.
So this is part of the community consultation outcomes?
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but it actually says the following points will be incorporated into the design going forward. So the flying foxes, okay, embankment slide, which is, I think that's where the death occurred, on an embankment.
Do you
slide.
have any other comments or feedback? What I'm seeing?
No, well, yeah,
It says, do you have any other comments?
yeah, I know, but so the comments are there, but it's been brought forward and it's said that they're going into the design.
Oh,
down
the
track.
following will be incorporated into
Will
the
be.
design.
Will
Flying
be
fox.
incorporated.
You've actually got that incorporated in the design. It's not
Yes.
part of the outcomes of the community
No.
engagement.
Through you, Chair. So again, like the embankment slide, the flying fox, all those things that we've asked to have incorporated into the design. And again, when we ask to have incorporated into design, this is as best possible and within the practicalities and the constraints of the site. They also, anything that gets designed has to meet all the current playground standards, all the current safety standards. And so all of that's going to be part of the design considerations.
So the flying fox will be incorporated?
It will be, well, we've requested to have it incorporated into the concept design, and the designers have to present to us the fact that it is designed to current safety standards.
Right, so it will be included.
It's been requested as part of one of the key outcomes that the community have requested to be included in the concept design for the playground.
So it will be there. Okay, so that's a yes. Yeah. Sorry? Adventure Commando Ninja course. Gymnastic style equipment for a range of difficulty levels for all ages, fitness equipment, embankment slide. Yes, that's what it says. Okay, thank you. So we've got, I think that addresses your question. Councillor Davies, you got your hand up?
Yeah, so first I just want to clarify what's going on with because according to this, we've already carried the motion. And nobody got a chance to speak.
Well, I'm allowing questions now. Yeah.
All right.
So have you got questions?
I mean, I was going to speak to one of the
Yes,
items. Okay,
absolutely.
So that's fine.
We-
All right. Yeah, so 11.2, the Gawler Civic Centre quarterly update. I was, yeah, I've been involved in quite a few of these things over the last quarter. The youth space and events have been, as always, quite good. I went along with the mayor to see my film debut.
Yeah, you were in quite a few frames.
Quite a few seconds of that movie.
Yeah.
They
edited quite a bit out, apparently.
Yeah, I was in both seconds of my debut. Yeah, so in Barry Normal Investigates 2, you know, so if that comes up again, be sure to watch it and look out for me. So, but yeah, so that's been going well. I've been using the Gawler Cultural Heritage Centre a lot lately.
Yes, you have.
Reading old issues of the Bunyip and finding lots of exciting little details in there about how we're trapped in a time loop as a council, and everything we're debating was discussed with all the same things happening 20 years ago. And so, you know, and that's a great little place down there. So definitely, if you're interested in heritage or even just your own family history and that kind of thing, then that's definitely worth going down there. I also was, I went to the cafe, you know, while I was there at the Cultural Heritage Centre. I thought, oh, I'll stop by the cafe as well. And that was very good. So yeah, look, just a very, very nice working operation at the moment on all those fronts.
Thank you. Any other discussion, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, sorry, I actually had my hand up to ask a question, but I seem to have got captured in the carriage unanimously bit. So I think my hand.
You can ask your question now.
Yeah.
My apologies.
So no, that's okay. The only point I was going to make is item 11.3 Business Hub Innovation. In that report, it talks about that we'll get a bit more information in the CCS. I was actually going to move to defer that particular report to the CCS in May to have them in conjunction. It was just a suggestion that I was going to make on that particular item.
I'll just refer that to Mr. Barrett. Mr. Barrett, will we be getting a report about the Innovation Hub at the CCS?
So through the chair, yes, review of the operating model over the last 9 months into the 12-month trial, and where we're going for the future direction is the report to CCS. So it doesn't actually relate to the quarter activity, which is what the report in the council agenda is.
So it's a separate matter?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with that. That's why I thought it would be handy to have this particular report.
We could, I'd accept a motion without notice that we have the quarterly update included in the report.
The CCS.
To the CCS later on, if you want to word something up.
Okay, thank you.
And we could just add that to the, would you do that anyway or not? Or do you want to, would it be better to have a motion in that regard, Mr. Barrett?
Through the chair, I'm trying to understand the context of what we're wanting to present. I could present the report as an attachment to the CCS report, but the CCS report is different subject matter. It's about the review of the model and where we're going for the future, not the quarterly activity that's just occurred.
Well, as I said, I will allow a motion if you feel that you want that information, Deputy Mayor. Okay. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? No, thank you. Sorry about that. I was on a roll, so I apologise. So now we move to recommendations from the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee. I'm on page 64. So we've got motions made under delegated authority. You happy to move that way, Councillor Davies?
Yes, I'm happy to move that way. Just recognising resignation of Renee Chamberlain, previous chair of the Youth Advisory Committee. She's gone interstate, so
is she?
Yes. So she's off to Queensland, I think, at the moment. So I think she's coming back, but yeah, but for now, she's not on the Youth Advisory Committee because she can't
spreading her
physically attend
wings.
meetings, so.
Exploring Australia. Well
yeah.
done, well done, Renee.
So yeah, I think she's been on for something like 5 years now, so. Yeah, and also just, I guess this speaks to the next one, but I'll just do it all at once. It's good to see, continue to see expressions of interest for membership. Even though we're collecting too many Ethans and too many Abbeys.
I'm doing the first one first, and then we'll go to
okay.
that. We'll go to
All
that.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that was what I was going to say.
Oh, thank you very much. You happy to second? You happy to second that one, councillor
brief.
Solomon? Yeah.
I just briefly just want to acknowledge what councillor Davies also said there, acknowledge Renee Chapman. She was chair of the Youth Advisory Committee for Space as well, and also represented the Youth Advisory Committee on in other things, like external bodies which they sat on and did from time to time, including representing the council with DIT, I believe. And
Yes,
also-
we went down. Yeah,
Yes.
that was online.
Yes,
And
yeah.
she was quite good. She was very good, in fact.
Yeah,
Mm.
and
And Jade was there too.
Yes, yes, and also on I think Tony Piccolo's YAP as well
Yeah.
as the youth advisory representative on there. So just wanted to acknowledge that work.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've got to move in a second. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So we've got appointment of members, which is really always good to see new members coming on board. You happy to move that way, councillor Davies? You happy to second, councillor Solomon, or anybody else? Councillor Hughes. Councillor Hughes seconded. Councillor Davies has. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. I'm going to go over the page. This is recommendations from the Infrastructure and Environmental Services Committee, otherwise known as the IES Committee. Motions made under delegated authority. We've got a noting motion here. We don't have to move it if we don't want to, but yes, it's probably a good idea if we did. You happy to move that way, councillor Davies? Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Valalonga, thank you. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Gawler 246 Growth Infrastructure Framework. You happy to move that way? Thank you, councillor Deputy Mayor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kosh. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. I'm moving over the page now. And we have the integrated transport strategy. I think this is a really exciting initiative. You happy to move that way, councillor Hennessy? Deputy Mayor seconded. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Got the Hillier Residential Park Proponent Initiated Code Amendment. Thank you, councillor Samble. Moved by councillor Samble. Do I have a seconder? I think it's important. Thank you, councillor Solomon. One or the other. We've got to move in a second. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Building Upgrade Finance Program. You happy to move that way, councillor Hughes? And we've got a seconder in councillor Valalonga. We've got a mover in a second. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Carried unanimously. City Power Partnership. I think this is a really interesting initiative. Again, Deputy Mayor, thank you. Moved, seconded by councillor Valalonga. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Clifford Road Drain, diversion of stormwater flows to the food forest. Oh, sorry. Have you got a conflict?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't declare it earlier. I'm employed by the Northern York Landscape Board, which may hear this matter may come before them at some stage. So
General?
just a general conflict, so I'll leave the room.
Thank you. So we might just declare the general, yep. He's an employee of landscape. What's the department called? Sorry? Northern York's Landscapes Board. He's an employee. Thank you, Chris. And he's dealt with it in a transparent and accountable way, and he's left the meeting. He's dealt with it by leaving the meeting. Thank you, Chris. I think that covers that adequately. Okay, so we've got Clifford Road. Do we have thank you, moved by councillor Samble, seconded by councillor Hennessy. We'll just allow Chris to put that up. Thank you, Chris. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. If we can ask councillor Hughes to come back in the room. Thank you, David. So now I'm on page 68, Gawler Skate Park update. Do we have a mover and a seconder for this? Thank you, councillor Davies, seconded by councillor Vallelonga. I'll just allow the minute taker to put the mover and the seconder. You have a question?
Yeah, so just clarifying on the timelines, I thought that this consultation had already started, but we're approving it now.
I've actually seen it on our social media page. It can't have started because we haven't approved it. Cannot have started because we haven't approved it yet.
I believe it was opened today. Which is very inappropriate, so I'll have to.
It needs to be taken off the social media until this is actually resolved. Yeah, thank you for raising it. I did see that and it didn't even click with me. But thank you for raising that. So we've got councillor Vallelonga. Did you have a question? Yeah.
Someone from the public came and saw me the other day and they want to know how to approach the council. They know it's used for a skate park, but they want to use it for model cars and that, if that's possible.
Well, what they could do is when the consultation actually opens tomorrow, that they could provide a submission of what they'd like to do with it. I think that would actually, if they'd like to do that, so they can put in a written submission to council.
When's this, tomorrow, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it actually opened today, which is a bit unauthorised, but yeah, it will open tomorrow. And if they would like to write a written submission of what they'd like to do, and that could go into the public consultation and that will come back to us. How about that? You reckon that's a good idea? Okay, good. Deputy Mayor.
I noted these items as delegated authority and dealt with by the IES, and we're just merely noting them.
No, this adopts. This is a recommendation.
Oh, sorry, have I missed?
This is a recommendation. Adopts.
Oh, okay. Because it says here, like, so motions made under.
Yeah, no, that's just the top one. That was
Oh,
just the
okay.
first one. Yeah.
Sorry, I
That's
stand
okay.
corrected. And I have received some feedback about public consultation that's not live at the moment.
Not live. No.
It is not happening, but I have received some feedback already, which is good, that people are engaging with it. The feedback was around the shade question, about the question might feel like it's a little bit loaded, being that only option 1 and option 2 were. allowed when there is no further comment or anything allowed, given the project's not allowed for in the budget or scoped yet. They felt it'd be better to be able to say, you know, what about an option 3, whatever. So just some feedback initial there on the
What they
consultation
could do
process.
is suggest an option 3 and
So I think,
detail that.
yeah, and I think the process in the survey doesn't necessarily allow it. So
They could
that-
write a written one and attach it.
Yeah, and I think that's the avenue that they're going down on this
Yeah.
consultation that doesn't exist
Yeah,
at this
okay.
point in time.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you for those comments. So we have a mover and a second. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now I'm moving over to recommendations from Gawler Heritage Collection Committee. And 12.3 is motions made under delegated authority, and that is for noting. Moved by councillor Hennessy, seconded by councillor Kosh. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. This one's a recommendation, update to Gawler Heritage Collection Committee terms of reference, because only council can change terms of reference. And basically, we've just added cultural tourism into two words. That's it. And I think staff are quite comfortable with that. You happy to move that way, councillor Kosh? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Valalonga, thank you. I'll just allow the minute taker to catch up. Beautiful. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'm over the page now. Request for permission to publish not painting. Again, this is a recommendation. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder if that's possible. Councillor Davies, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Conservation of items from the Gawler Heritage Collection. There's a few there. We do have a budget for that incorporated into the budget of the Gawler Heritage Research Centre. You happy to move that way, councillor Kosh? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Valalonga. I'll just allow the minute taker to catch up. Beautiful, thank you. Yes, you certainly may.
I think it's fantastic the way this is all going at this particular time, but where are we going to store all this, and is it going to be visible for the general community? I've just had a weekend down Victor Harbour and looking at the different museum and heritage places like Mr. Davies does. And it's fantastic to see these things on display, but I don't think we've got much room to display them, have we? So is there some sort
I'll defer to Mr. Barrett, because I think there is plans to display as part of exhibitions or particular other exhibitions, and any opportunity that we have, I think we should be able to display them.
So through the chair, in response to storage, we have secure storage here at the Gawler Civic Centre in a couple of different locations adjacent to the Heritage Research Centre in the lower ground floor, and also adjacent to the Heritage Gallery off Meeting Room G1 and Meeting Room G1 itself, all storage facilities for the collection. In terms of the display, we have rotating exhibition opportunities in the Heritage Research Centre and the Reading Room. We also have our annual exhibitions in the Heritage Gallery, where we exhibit such items. The intention is to have the items restored to a point that we can actually display them. At this point in time, we can't display these items because they're too fragile and they will be damaged too much by light sensitivity and other things. So by preserving and conserving, it gives us the opportunity to bring them out for display. People who visit the Heritage Research Centre, as Councillor Davies has recently, can access the collection as well. So people will know these items exist in the collection and can actually privately view them as well by appointment with that centre.
Thank you, David. Councillor Hennessy.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, we're getting some material here that's ranges from 100 years to 400 years. So some of it can't be on permanent display, but part of the archiving, as Mr. Barrett said, is that they can be called out at any time for public viewing, and we'll occasionally put up for exhibition. But we are discovering some really rare gems that is going to cement the collection on the national stage.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Acceptance of Charles Knott sword stick into the Gawler Heritage Collection. This was quite a find, actually. You happy to move that motion, Councillor Kosh? And I think I saw Deputy Mayor first, seconded by Deputy Mayor Shanks. Thank you. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Recommendations from the Special Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 13th of April. They were there to look at the draft budget. So you happy to move that way? Do I have a seconder, Councillor Vallelonga? I'll just allow the minute taker to catch up. Beautiful. Thank you, Chris. Draft budget. I think it's fairly self-explanatory, and if there's no further discussion, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. External now. External bodies report. Now, somebody raised something about the external. Was that you, Councillor Solomon?
Just declaring that general interest for the minutes of the Norma meeting on there. I know that the others didn't do that, but I'm not. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to declare a general interest, and I'll deal with that by in a transparent and accountable way by remaining in the chamber and voting in the best interest of the Gawler community.
And you'll participate in the debate if there's any debate.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just make sure that's documented. Councillor Kosh. It's only minutes. It's minutes.
I know, I'm in two minds here. Oh, dear me.
Might be better to just declare it.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing. Yeah. Do the same
Okay,
thing for the
yeah.
minutes.
I think it's probably just being a conservative approach.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
the list says. I'll leave another.
So you're declaring the same general conflict. So Councillor Kosh is declaring exactly the same conflict. He's a member of the normal board. Just allow the minute taker to get this right, so we don't have to go back and do it again. He's a member of the normal board. Yeah. And dealt with the conflict in transparent, the best interest, and remained in the meeting and participated in the debate. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Okay, so that's what? Oh, you're a member. No, because Councillor White's the member, the deputy member, isn't he? Yeah, member of Norma board. Just put board there, then you don't have to go back and do it again, Chris. Okay, I think that fixes that. So I might ask for a mover and a seconder for these minutes. You happy to move that way, Councillor? Thank you. Vallelonga, and seconded by Councillor Davies. I'll just allow the minute taken to catch up so that we've got it right. You have a question, Councillor Sample?
Thanks, Mayor Karen. We've had some excellent training this term, and this one always confuses me because when you're a representative, like for instance I am on the Elderly Centre Advisory Working Committee. I mean, basically I go there, but you sort of listen to all the conversations that are going on and everything. And but at the end of the day, one of our staff members are the person that actually.
You're the council representative, though.
council representative, yes, but you know, like I hear so much about this, oh, but I'm a member of this, I'm a member of that and everything. I just.
Would you
just-
like to?
I don't,
declare-
I look back through the training we've had and I can't see anything there that it really nuts that on.
Felice made mention of Norma in particular, but subsidiaries and, you know, the Elderly Centre Working Group is not a subsidiary. It's a working group. The Norma board is a subsidiary and she did make mention of that. And I think it's safer to be conservative and declare. We will be getting some advice on that matter. And I think that might help all our elected members. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Sample. Councillor White.
Thanks, Mayor. Just in that case, to be on the very, very safe side, I'll declare the same conflict as the deputy member. Although I wasn't at the meeting, no.
So you're declaring a general conflict?
Yes.
Yes. And
if
you're,
we-
and I'm just for clarity.
Yeah.
You're staying in the room. You're a deputy member of the Normal board. You are staying in the room and you're participating in the debate.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
just
No,
to
no,
make
of course.
make it clear for the minute.
Yeah. Did you mention there that we might get some advice on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you.
We have received advice previously, but we now have new changes and it probably is appropriate to get updated advice, but the CEO will determine that. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, Councillor White, I haven't received the answers to your questions. I apologise. However, there is a draft, but I need to see that and I need to be comfortable. And there is some language in there that I'd prefer to take out. So once Andrew and I and Sharon have looked at that, we'll put it back. So I do apologise. We will put it back up. If you'd like to resubmit your question and we'll get it to the next ordinary council meeting and we will put that in. We will make sure that you get that answer. Okay.
Thanks, Mayor. Is there any way we can, if that answer gets worked out before the next ordinary meeting, is there a way, could it be circulated by email or would it need to come back to close?
It needs to be presented as a
Yeah,
meeting.
that's okay. No worries.
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
And then it gets put in the minutes. Yeah. Okay. Once again, I do apologise for that. Okay, questions without notice? Yes.
Thanks, Mayor. We did briefly talk about it before in the break, but I guess would staff be able to explain what occurred in regards to the misprinting of the times for the Anzac Day dawn service on the Town of Gawler material? It said 6:15.
Yeah.
And as we know,
It's
it
been
starts
addressed. It has been addressed.
So I guess my question is, was there miscommunication? What was the reason behind?
Well, I think staff believed that it did start at 6:15. And they've had previous, I raised it today. And staff had previous promotional material which said 6:15. And in fact, when I first became mayor, I thought it started at 6:15 and it did not. And I was nearly late as a mayor. Yeah, it's always started at 6 a.m. And I think staff will adjust those promotional materials and it will be changed for next year. And that's the only thing we can do. Yeah, I think that addresses your question. Yeah. Yes, I think that it's been made. Yeah, I think, you know, staff recognise that, you know, that needs to change, and I'm sure that will be changed. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions, Deputy Mayor?
I just some clarity. There was some questions I noticed asked a month ago, and I haven't seen the answers circulated on some of them.
Questions without notice?
Questions without notice, and I'm sorry if I've missed something.
I thought you shared questions.
I did
without
see,
notice.
I did see some questions come through, but yeah, specifically I was sent a raft of questions that I forwarded through, and whether or not. Once again,
What we'll do is we'll
take it
clarify,
offline.
if you can.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
Clarify what those questions were, just to be really clear, and we can provide those answers, okay? Yeah,
no worries.
they'll come to me and then they'll go out.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So now we move to motions on notice, and guess who's here? Councillor Davies, wayfinding signs. Over to you, Councillor Davies.
All right, so this is so yeah, if you don't know what I mean by wayfinding signs, these are at Walker Place and at the Visitor Information Centre. They're sort of some devices, theoretically multi-use, but most of the uses don't seem to work most of the time. This is just something that seems to continually come up as an issue, as a technical issue. It seems to constantly be not working, and then the staff time, taken up in dealing with it and dealing with the people who can fix it, who live interstate, and who, I mean, from how difficult it seems to be to get them here, they could live in Germany for all I know, but it's just something that, look, it has, I'm not saying it's completely useless. It's, it's an advertising board, like, it's very expensive for an advertising board in comparison to printing out a poster and putting that on a wall, for example. But yeah, look, I just think it's something that we need to look at it and think, well, as we go into the next 5 years, the next 10 years, is this going to continue to give us an increasing benefit, or is it going to continue to give us increasing frustrations as it continues to break down potentially? So that's why I moved this motion. It's up to the chamber.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to second. What I see this is an option to be presented in a future report on costs of items 1 and 2 on an alternative. Yeah, look, anything that council invests in, I think there comes a stage where elected members have the right of asking what's our return on investment. The unfortunate thing with this particular item is we're not even at the point where these things are actually off the ground running to a level of satisfaction yet to understand what the return on investment is. We've had a couple of changes of modelling. We've had things drop out. It's just the inconsistency is not being well received in the community. I mean, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, it was showing the time and the date, I think, from January and events that had already passed again. And then this is an ongoing situation that has been raised multiple times. Having this motion live and seeing what the potentials are of both those 2 points, I think is a sound contingency should we keep on going around in circles with this item. So I'm happy to support it. And yeah, let's see what comes back with it.
Okay, so Councillor Hughes.
Just maybe to save a staff report, whether we can, through the chair, ask a question of the staff to say what state they're in at the moment, whether they're being maintained and whether they're actually working.
Mr. Barrett. You don't want to answer?
So through the chair, I can answer in terms of what's displayed, but in terms of the actual infrastructure and the delivery, that's Ms. Young's area. But in terms of what's displayed, it's managed by a program called OptiSign, which all staff who use it have at their desktop. And it deploys the community information through the screens. It has automatic timeouts, so it times out the advertisements the date the action occurs. So for example, there's a show at the Civic Centre on Friday night, just after 8 o'clock when the show starts, that promotion would end, for example. The issue with that function not working has been an infrastructure issue where the signs lost their connectivity. So that is something we've resolved. That was a Wi-Fi connectivity and CCTV connectivity issue throughout our entire network. So it's not just isolated to those signs, but in terms of the infrastructure, the screens, etc., I'll need to defer to Ms. Young to answer where we're up to with that.
Wendy?
Through the chair, so we've been on a long process to trying to have these units fully completed to meet the specification. I know that we did circulate an email that had a number of details in it a couple of weeks ago, so I think that's probably a good reference point. And I'm afraid my computer's just run out of battery, so I can't refer to it right now. Largely, the components of the units are complete. There are still some outstanding issues with the screens. So you'll notice one of the screens on the VIC, for example, is permanently blank.
That's right. Yeah.
That is a result, we believe, due to the units overheating, and the resolution we had agreed with the contractor was to have air conditioning units put onto the top. We've reviewed the design, that's been ordered. Apparently there's been issues in their supply chain. They've reassured us they're coming again in the next couple of months. There's some negotiation we need to have with the contractor around the delay in those units and the impact we believe it's had on the infrastructure. Other components of it do work. It's got the defib units, the drink fountains, the touchscreen interface is as it was specified. But I think still there's some interface improvements that everyone will be seeking through them. But for more information, I'll just refer you back to the email that we sent out a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, thank you. I think that addresses your question, Councillor Hughes. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I remember the email from the other week and
Yeah.
and the issues of getting rectification through the process. Yeah, I think if the motion was more just about IT or and if we go back to our risk matrix statements where we were looking at in the IT space with our risk matrix, we are trying to look for cutting edge designs which don't have, unfortunately, a high failure rate. And we don't, I think in some regards, got some bad information through the different processes. But I think generally that there is issues, but we're working through them. So I don't support the motion.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Davies, you happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. The debate is finished. I will put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. Thank you. Councillor Solomon?
Thank you, Mayor. So this motion, which I've presented tonight, is largely to help provide information to the chamber on what has been a very long ongoing issue, as I'm sure Councillor Davies can attest to, with some sorry, Mayor.
That's okay.
Oh,
we're just getting up to 10 o'clock and Councillor Sample reminded me, so I apologise.
Oh, do we? Okay, right. Yeah, so I'll try and make it quick then, but
no, you don't have to.
Do we, is it 10:30?
It's 10:30.
It's 10:30, we have an issue. Okay.
We'll
no
deal
worries.
with this matter and then we'll deal with the other matter.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so obviously this is a long running issue and I think we are starting to make some decisions around this issue and it would be good for all members of the council to be informed on this. When I spoke to Mr. Goodsell, I made clear that I thought it would be beneficial that all members of council were included in this, and we workshopped it a little bit so that it's before the IES committee meeting, so that it's timely as well. But largely, it's just a motion about being able to have access to some of that prior information, as it says up there, including those Jensen reports and the technical reports which have changed anything in regard to the sub precincts that we're proceeding with in our discussion paper that we're taking up to the community. But yeah, happy to yeah, move this motion.
Do we have a seconder, councillor Davies?
Yeah, look, as alluded to, I have, while looking through my archives of the Bunyip, run into the rural zones debate multiple times. Tragically, there was an article from maybe 2003 with Mayor Tony Piccolo where it said, will they finally resolve this 15-year saga? 17 years later, it doesn't seem like so, but there is a lot of history here and a lot, you know, so I think it really, it would make sense to help new people get up to date on all this.
Any other discussion? Question, is it an operational question? If it's an operational question, that has no place here. No. So if I'll take other questions. What is your question, councillor Hennessy? If it's an operational,
Well,
it is not,
you can
it
determine-
does not. It
I'm
does
not sure
have-
whether it's an operational or not. I simply want to know, I seek clarification of the difference between an information briefing and a workshop, because I'm getting confused as to which is the most appropriate. So
They're both the same thing. They're both the same thing.
Same thing?
The
Thank
same
you.
thing. Thank you. That's an operational question, just for clarity. Deputy Mayor Shanks.
Yeah, look, I'm speaking for this. I think I remember when the chamber back in my day, when the chamber wasn't where we're located now, and I remember in the old chambers having a workshop about Jensen 2 report and talking that through in the benefits coming in as a newly elected member of that, and I still use the information that I got in that workshop when discussing this item. I think this is a good approach in this item and in this time of the chamber, and I'm more than happy to support this motion the way that it sits. So yeah, hopefully we can get all around it, because it's only about informing ourselves more on a massive issue that who knows, maybe we'll be the chamber to solve it. So yeah, I really hope we're not in the time loop.
Councillor Ballalonga.
Just like to declare an interest in it, a general
Yes.
landowner in that area,
Yes.
but I'm going to remain in the meeting.
Okay. Can you document that, please, Chris, that councillor Ballalonga has declared a general conflict as a landowner? That's the reason. He is a landowner. He will stay in the meeting and participate in the debate. Thank you, Chris, for that. Okay, that's been documented. Any other discussion? If not, councillor Solomon. Sorry?
Make a closing remark. Is that
You can
fine?
close the
Yeah,
debate.
thank you. Yes, thank you. Mayor, so yeah, I just really want to reinforce that this is largely a motion about information, and just want to keep it completely separate from any debate which occurs on the day in the IAS committee meeting, so that everyone can be well informed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The debate's closed. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. And councillor Davies.
Yeah, so this is, I think, just a chance to take advantage of some good tourist opportunities that will hopefully be coming around in the near future. And I got a nice write-up in the Bunyip this morning that usually doesn't come out usually comes out the day after the council meeting, but we've moved it to Wednesday. So, but this is something that I think just is, it's not necessarily about, you know, whether we want to host it or anything like that. It's saying if, for example, at Newry or Tanunda, it's hosted, that's something that for, you know, for a lot of places in our town, we have several accommodation places, for example, now with the, you know, like the Gawler Foundry and the Eagle Foundry and the Gawler Arms. You know, we have, if there's going to be a bunch of stuff happening around that time, it would be great for us to say, well, let's have a, you know, almost, it could be like the treasure trail at the Gawler show. We could have, you know, we could have pamphlets that are available at accommodation places throughout Gawler, Light, and Barossa, saying, well, here's a range of places that you could, you know, that you could go to while you're here. So I'm just basically opening up the opportunity to have talks and discussions with all sorts of groups and councils about how we can take advantage of potentially a lot of people coming around to visit the area.
Thank you. You happy to second, Councillor White?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Firstly, I want to commend Councillor Davies on this terrific motion. I think this is a fantastic opportunity. I mean, we can see how successful Gather Round was for South Australia, with the potential, the very high likelihood of it coming on our doorstep. It's great to see elected members thinking proactively about the opportunities that are to come. This is going to be a great event we can get behind, great opportunities for our community, for community members that live here, for South Australians, but also for people coming around the state who are going to be right in our backyard. So let's be proactive with this. Let's start these discussions now and be ready for what's to come. So again, I'd like to thank Councillor Davies for putting forward this motion, and I really urge all councillors, but also staff, to be excited about this opportunity. Yes, it's 12 months away, but I think let's start now and let's cash in on what is going to be a great event for our region, and we can make it great for our town.
Any other discussion, Councillor Solomon? Are you bringing in any new information?
Relatively, yes, I would think so. I would just like to say, it is an excellent motion, but not to repeat anything which Councillor White has said, which I agree, that I think it is of benefit to Gawler to be really supportive of the things that are happening in the region, which no one has mentioned yet, thank you. But I think it's great to be supportive of things which are happening in the region generally, to build that strong relationship with the surrounding councils, so that in the future, if we sought to do something like this, then they might retain the favour.
For any new information, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I said
all right,
that
I
accordingly.
apologise for that.
Sorry.
No.
Okay. Any other discussion? It needs to be new information. If you're just going to agree with the motion and you're not going to bring any new information, I'll probably cut you short. Just saying.
I appreciate the pre-warning. Yeah, look, I attended a Gather Round conference on the Friday. We were all invited as elected members. I actually ended up sharing a table with
I didn't see. Did we get an invite?
Yeah, no, it was all, yeah, we all received the same invite, and I reached out in the last minute to the coordinator of the event, and yeah, went along on a Friday afternoon. Your surprise on this is sort of explaining the next point I'm probably going to make is what was noticeable is the lack of Town of Gawler there, which that was what I was sort of hoping there. I ended up sharing a table with Barossa staff and with, I guess the point and the takeaway there was as Councillor Davies' motion points out, the region can benefit from this, and I think Barossa positioned themselves well, and they did it about 5-6 years ago, to bring fruition these sorts of upgraded sporting facilities. The conversations on the conference and the excitement of the Gather Round was really rich in that room. So any opportunities that come forward, I would recommend really jumping at those, because yeah, this was the first, and as Councillor White pointed out, it was very successful. Now, how do we leverage ourselves into these opportunities? And I think this motion is looking at that and providing that appetite, which I thank Councillor Davies for moving this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Davies, do you want to wrap up the debate? No, you're happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'm not sure that we need it. Have you got a motion without notice? We'll do that and then we'll do council member attendances and then that's it. We don't have anything else on the agenda. So if you want to present your motion without notice, what wording have you got?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So all quarterly update reports be included in the May CCS 2023 report on future options of the business hub.
Can you just say that again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. All quarterly update reports be included in the May CCS 2023 report on future options of the Business Innovation Hub.
So in the May CCS meeting, 2023, what was the rest of it? Sorry.
No, that's fine. In the May CCS 2023 report on future options of the Business Innovation Hub.
Or on future options for the future options. So that, sorry.
No, that's fine.
For the Gawler Business Innovation Hub?
Yep.
Okay.
So I think I'm just getting some peripheral feedback here that all quarterly updates. So this is the quarterly updates that mimic the quarterly update.
You want all? Because there's quite a few of them.
No, there's only.
You just want this one?
There's only like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be 3. Yeah, because remember we moved to have this as a separate report.
Yeah.
That's only recent.
Okay.
So there should only be 3 to be included, 4, whatever.
Does that?
As attachments, yeah,
Does that provide adequate direction, Mr. Barrett?
Yeah.
As attachments?
Yeah.
Yep.
As
Okay.
attachments. Yeah.
So I think, are you happy? That provides you with adequate direction? Yes? Okay. Yep.
So I'll just speak to that. I mean.
What was that?
What?
Just speak to it, Nathan.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Okay, so the reason for moving this is purely just to ensure that we have the full picture, given there's going to be a recommendation as highlighted in item 11.3 on future models of the Business Innovation Hub. Elected members will recall that, you know, at this point in time, council staff are in charge of the management with the collaborative approach with the RDA and the Gawler Business Development Group. The elected body of the time endorsed the opportunity to split that report out and drill down into some specifics around the model. And I think if we're going to talk about future options, this quarterly report being attached to that meeting is a good move forward, and just provides that holistic picture. Yeah, so I guess that's the pitch.
Awesome. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ballalonga. Thank you very much. So we have a seconder. Any discussion, Councillor Hughes?
I'm just concerned about the hundreds of pages of documents. I mean, only a couple of us councillors get fully electronic copies. Whether there's some way to restrict the pages. I mean, even if it was put on our hub.
Well, with all due respect, one person talk at a time. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just some way of restricting the number of pages. I mean,
well, I think what we've got here is all quarterly update reports, and how many on average, what's the page? They're about 4 pages each, 4 or 5. So how many reports are there? 3.
Okay.
Just 3. So there's not many pages.
But the actual total reports are quite, they're quite big. Yeah. So it's just those stats that you're after. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Deputy Mayor, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So I'm going to crack on with council member attendances and activities. I'm going to say what I've done first, and then I'll go around the table. I went to just going back, I went to business network Gawler, North Star. They invited me to their business networking at the Golden Fleece. And it was really, really interesting. They're a newish group, and I think they look really quite professionally at what they do. They have KPIs, they do referrals, etc. So I was really excited to actually be invited to that particular group. The next day, I went to the ordinary general meeting, and you'd be pleased to know that the City of Mitcham put up a climate emergency, and it got up because the majority of councils were in fact metro councils in the room. And I think that made a big difference when all the councils went there. So it was really quite interesting. I also caught up with Mayor Moira Ware from Onkaparinga, the biggest council in the state. And she's a really interesting individual. She's done many things in her life, and I was really excited to actually meet her. On Sunday, the 16th of April, I welcomed the Gawler Car Club to their vintage run, and they have many vintage cars. It's actually becoming quite popular right across the state. It's really popular, and they go to Greenock. And then on the 17th of April, I went down with Louise Drummond and met with Ben Stokes, who runs a commercial kitchen, and he hires that kitchen out. Lovely guy. He built his kitchen for $75,000 using near new equipment, and he is more than happy to come up and provide his advice if that's appropriate. I certainly said that I don't have any power in that regard, but he really has some wonderful ideas, and it was really quite a useful exercise going down there and meeting with Ben. We had our youth sponsorship ceremony, a sports sponsorship. Many young people received money for representation at state and also national level, and it was really quite exciting. And usually I get them to speak on why they love their sport, and that was really fun to hear the young people talk about why they love their sport. And then later that evening we had the launch of our History Festival brochure, and that's really exciting. Gawler really punches above its weight when it comes to History Month, which is coming up in May, and please share that information because people really get excited. We get lots of people coming and wanting to do those activities, and it's really quite an exciting brochure. I had a Tamblyn railway station meeting. I also we had the official opening of our basketball court at Princes Park, which went really well. And I noticed later that day, we had the Anzac match at South Gawler Footy, which was between South Gawler and Williston, of course. And that went really, really well. Very solemn occasion. And people were very, very respectful, even children standing silent while the last post was played. And then, of course, we had our march with the RSL. David was there running around getting everything ready. Well done you, David. And it went off absolutely seamlessly with a small service up at Pioneer Park. And then, of course, we had Anzac Day, and we had the dawn service, which absolutely went off a treat. Andrew was acting CEO and he came along, and yeah, it went really well. The sound was absolutely magnificent. I think we've nailed that, and I think people would be very happy with that service. Thanks to Apex and of course RSL who run the event. And then I went to Hillier Park, also a very solemn event, a beautiful morning for their Anzac Day service. And then I went to Gawler Eagles soccer match with Councillor Solomon, I believe. And yeah, it was really, really good. Today I touched base with the Gawler and District's domestic violence network, and they're doing some really exciting things. And we are working with Shelter SA in regard to affordable housing. And I need to tell you that I got an email from Alice Clark, Dr. Alice Clark, who's quite well connected. And she's had a meeting with Nicola Forrest from the Minderoo Foundation, and she's quite excited by our proposal. And I think we're going to be working with Alice Clark to do a pitch to the Minderoo Foundation. So I don't know where that's going to go, but we'll certainly be involved in that space. So I think that's really quite exciting. Yeah, and tomorrow I'm going up to Berry to participate in a regional CEO forum. I've been asked to speak there. Yeah, and Williston on Saturday night with their first test of their lights that they got with and it's really quite exciting. We've got so many layers of events and initiatives in the town. It's really, really quite exciting, and it's always a privilege to go along and meet with people. On Saturday, the 29th, netball at the Gawler District Netball Association starts with the Doug Hillman Anzac round. Yes, so, and the skate park event is also on that day as well. So lots happening. Over to you, Councillor Koch.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I won't repeat all the stuff that I went to that you went to, so I won't go there. But I did, on the 31st of March, attend the Northern and York Regional Forum, and that was really interesting. Looked at a whole range of things, but one of the issues that really took my interest was environmental accounting. And essentially what it does, it's actually looking at your environmental assets and giving them a rating between 1 to 100. And then you can use all that. So that's really the data you actually do the evaluation. And you can use that information to better target your investment. And organisations, etc., governments tend to fund projects that have data behind them, so they know there's going to be some outcomes potentially. So that was really, really interesting. And I do know that the Northern York Board is looking at implementing some of that soon, so that'll impact on Gawler. So that's an exciting outcome, I thought. Well done.
Anybody else?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Councillor White. There you go.
Thanks, Mayor. No, I won't go through everything you went through, but there was some really good events in there. I mean, in particular, the Anzac Dawn Service and the March was brilliant. The RSL and Apex did great. The History Festival launch in Gawler was a fantastic event too. Some exciting things coming up next month. One thing that I did attend was at Prior Range, thanks to Wendy and David. It was a bit of a scout with the current investigation staff are doing regarding the recreational vehicle parking area. So Councillor Hennessy came along too, and Brendan, one of our engineers, took us around, which was fantastic. So staff are doing a lot of work behind the scenes in looking at all possible options from the motion that was passed a few months ago. And I believe that's coming back in a report at the next ordinary meeting. So it was really good to, I guess, work directly with staff and get that physical.
And thank you for sharing that, because a lot of us weren't aware of that. So without that email, we wouldn't have known. So thank you for sharing that.
That's okay. And it was great that Councillor Hennessy came along. We had some good discussions, and looking forward to seeing how Brendan and the staff present their report. But it has been a very busy month with lots of great events going on.
Councillor Davies and then Councillor Vallelonga.
Yeah, I'll just mention one that is coming up this Sunday is the Festival of Words launch. We have a Gawler Writers group that's always quite active and have events around this time of year. So at 1:30 p.m. on the Sunday at the PA is the launch of the program. And then there's poets at the pub from 2 o'clock. And I think before that, if you come around at 11:30, there's a writing workshop. So there's lots of stuff there as well.
Thank you. Councillor Vallelonga.
It's a bit different. While the gather was on, the football,
Yes.
I had 3 different groups, and what they wanted to do was go to the Gawler Mill upstairs. And I took them up there, and they thought it was wonderful. And to get upstairs is not easy. So you get a bit dirty when you go up, but what I found interesting, they were all from Melbourne and they like our heritage buildings. And they sort of threw the question at me. They'd love to see the buildings, not just the outside, but they'd like to see the inside of most of the heritage buildings if they can. And I thought that was quite interesting.
No, that's really fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. That's really enlightening. I really appreciate that.
They were
Yes.
surprised when I was talking to the pole dancers though.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Solomon?
Just quickly, I won't mention all of them again, but of course
Yeah.
attended the Anzac March and went to the RSL afterwards, and of course Margaret Little was presented with life
Yes,
membership,
she
and that
was.
was quite moving.
Yes, it was.
Really, so I thought I wanted to
I'm
mention that.
writing her a letter. I'm decided I'm going to write her a letter of congratulations. Yeah.
It was very moving, and of course the bagpipes were fantastic there afterwards as well. But I did attend both the Anzac Round for the footy between Williston and South, and also the Gawler Eagles game. That was a fantastic game, and that they won quite convincingly as well.
Excellent work. Councillor Sample?
Yeah, just a quick, if anybody wants to get out of town this weekend, the car rally that we used to have in Gawler is on in the Borough District. And I heard a few comments tonight about accommodation and things like that. There's actually people staying in B&Bs here that are competing in the rally at Borough. And it's an hour's drive from here. And there's also 4 competitors from Gawler, 2 business persons that have got some very hot motor cars, and there's entries from New Zealand, Tasmania, and all over Australia, especially from Western Australia. So if you want to get out of town, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, out in the country there, it'll be absolutely fantastic. Vroom, vroom.
Well done, you, Councillor Sample. I've been in the car when you've been driving, and yes, it's been an experience. Yes. Thank you for all of those updates. They've been very enlightening and very important. So I'll conclude that item. I'll go to confidential reports. There are none, and I'll close the meeting at 10:21. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.